Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I am your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 109 of the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, and any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choosing. Joining me today is my usual co-host, the Alan Shore to my Denny Crane, Steve Cook. Steve, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, my brother, and we're shooting for 6 seasons of the movie. Am I right?
There you go. We're hoping
6 seasons of the movie. Yeah, that's right.
God, I would love it. Gotta do it before Shatner passes, dude.
Oh, no. That will never happen. I gotta tell you, even if William Shatner catches the COVID, he will kick out 2.9 cents. I'm telling you.
This is
right
true.
now. I'm telling you, right, he will not die. He will never die, just like Matt Hardy version 1. Nah, yes, sir.
That's right. So, Steve, yes. we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We got some news. We have AEW and NXT to talk about since it's the normal weekly show. We're going to start off with the news tonight, Steve. And we start off with sad news, the unfortunate passing of Howard Finkel, Steve.
Yes. The Howard Finkel one thing I have said as far as ring announcers go, as far as, wrestling ring announcers go, as far as MMA ring announcers go, as far as any announcer for sport goes, I don't think anybody is more recognizable with their sport as Howard Finkel is to the WWF. That guy was the ring announcer for WWF. For most of their major events through the 1980s and 1990s, they tried to phase him out, and he still kept coming back. And he was just that guy who was always there. And you cannot find somebody who has a bad word to say about him. I mean, you can find, anybody who was there during that time period, nobody will say a bad thing about Howard Finkel. He was just a good guy. Just a good man.
Everybody loved the Fink. You are right, Steve. And the thing with him is, I think when you put all of it together, and let's just call the category combat sports to include pro wrestling, I find him to be one of my favorite, if not one of the best ring announcers, up there with a guy like a Jimmy Lennon Jr., who I always thought was awesome.
It's showtime!
Yeah, and, as you said, Howard Finkel, just synonymous with WWE. And how many guys do you ever hear in interviews talk about one of the most gratifying things in their career was when they won a championship? It was not that they won the championship, but it was when Howard Finkel would give the announcement, and your winner, and new! Everybody wanted to hear that.
Yep.
And that was just like, he was so good, but that was his big calling card. And yeah, so many people had great things to say when he passed away. And there were always, like, when he would end up attending a show in the last couple years, he was in a wheelchair a lot of the time. Everybody taking pictures with the Fink. Sure. Everybody still loved him, and he was a guy that, people just wished was around more and healthy. And unfortunately, he passes away at age 69. And, definitely a loss to the wrestling world. Especially, not just wrestling fan, but like, if you were especially a WWF wrestling fan, the man was there. He was the first employee there over 30 years. And well over that, but just, he was just, a guy that, like, when you think WWF, that you think Howard Finkel, he's a big part of that. So
absolutely. He was the top ring announcer for any wrestling event, for any WWF event in the 1980s or 1990s, or even past that. He was always the guy that was there to say and knew, or whatever you want to say. He's also the guy who was considered to be the expert within the company, who knew more about anything in the professional wrestling business, who knew all trivia things, who knew what was going on. He always kept track of that stuff. And he always kept track of the outside stuff as well. I don't know if he talked Dave Meltzer a lot or not. I couldn't tell you about that. But, the guy always has thumb on the pulse of wrestling business.
Exactly. Very beloved figure in the sport. An unfortunate passing, but The good news is at least we're not talking like we used to back in the day about young death. Because, goddamn, that stuff took the life out of you.
Oh, gosh, yeah. We're not here every week talking about somebody dying at the age of 39 or 25 or where the hell.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
So
we might get there at some point. Yeah,
let's hope not, dude. So WWE, Steve, still going to be doing the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and this one it's either the greatest idea in the world or it's the fucking weirdest idea in the world. WWE Money in the Bank will happen from the WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. The Money in the Bank ladder matches will have a unique stipulation of quote-unquote climbing the corporate ladder, where the superstars begin on the ground floor, have to fight their way to the roof, and then climb the ladder and pick up the briefcase to win. It's been revealed that WWE filmed some, if not all, of the event last week. WWE had flew in talent to the HQ, filmed several matches at that time. Taping reportedly happened in the early mornings until all the way close to midnight. It was described as tedious, with a lot of having to hurry up and then wait for the next shots to be properly set up. The reason for this is because the matches were shot in cinematic style, although it's unknown if that style means it will be more like the Boneyard match or the Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano match. Now, Steve Cook, what are your just initial thoughts on this wacky-ass Money in the Bank stipulation and WWE going back to the cinematic well again?
I kind of like the idea of people, going to Titan Towers and working their way up Titan Towers and going up to the top roof and climb the ladder and whatnot. But the whole thing with people climbing the corporate ladder in this day and age, to me, just sounds like fucking bullshit. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, you gotta climb the corporate ladder. If I was WWE, I would be trying to hide the fact that I am a horrible, ridiculous corporation, trying to suck the souls out of people. I would stay away from all that, to be honest. And I don't know. It's just, I can see it working pretty well as a pay-per-view event or as a WWE Network event. People going through Titan Towers and tearing shit up and climbing up to the top of the towers and whatnot. But, man, I just don't see, you got to climb the corporate ladder and be the corporate champion. That sounds like fucking bullshit to me. I'm sorry. I just don't see it working.
Fair enough. I think that they're going back to the cinematic well too soon, because you had two of those things at Mania, then you had Gargano and Ciampa right after that. I don't know if you really want to go back to that. I understand you need to do different things, and maybe it will help with these ladder matches and stuff, because it's hard. As we saw at WrestleMania, we had a really good to great one at Mania that a lot of us enjoyed, but it's not easy to do with no crowd.
No, it's not.
So maybe this will help that. It will be interesting, but again, I think the thing they have to be careful of is Gargano and Ciampa felt really long, because it was, and you're going to either have a weird mixture of Edge and Orton or Gargano and Ciampa in these matches, I think. I really hope they don't go overly long and overstay their welcome, because even if cinematically shot, nobody has time for 30-plus fucking minute empty arena matches, no matter what kind of setting they're in. They don't work.
And they're climbing the fucking corporate ladder to be a corporate champion, come on.
And that is all we're going to hear about on TV. Climb the corporate ladder.
Climb the corporate ladder and be corporate champion, because goddamn, you got to be corporate champion, and we have to make money, and we got to make money. It's more important to make money than save lives. That's what they're going to be pushing this whole month. Like, fuck that. I'm sorry, but
I'm absolutely shocked that they didn't have it called like the grab the brass ring match.
Grab the brass ring, motherfucker, Goddamn, Brody Lee, can you grab the brass ring, brother? Can you grab it? Can you grab it, motherfucker? That's what he said.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds.
I'm not a fan of ladder matches at this point, to be honest with you. And I know that we had a lot of ladder matches and people buzzing their ass on ladders. I just don't see a point right now.
Well, I'm
see a
like
point right now.
I'm kind of like sick of WWE ladder matches right now, because remember at the end of last year we had like a couple in a row. Then we had like TLC, and then we fucking had the women had that one recently. Then we had the one at Mania.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of getting ladder matches.
There's no reason for that. Yeah, there's no reason. Except to, you know, there's no reason for it.
Gotta make the money.
The money. Yeah.
So, in other WWE news, WWE is actually not going to be shooting live all the time. They're going to bi-weekly tapings because they got the okay from their TV partners that they were allowed, and they're not going to lose out on their billions of dollars.
Oh, goddamn. Yeah.
So
for now.
So, well, I mean, I think it's smart. But I mean, in terms of if you have to tape product, I think live tapings and having to fly fucking people in a couple times a week is absolutely stupid. So, yeah, smartest move they can make in terms of if they have to do shows.
Sure. What else can I say? Honestly, what else can I say? What's the smartest move they can make that they can make to do shows? Would be the, not, fly right in. We'll fly Noe Jose in. We'll have him job out Bobby Lashley and then we'll fire his ass. Or, we'll fly in Sarah Logan to job her ass out. And we'll fire her, but we'll still push her a week after she's been fired. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
By the way, did that not sound like the stupidest shit in the world that they were thinking of using her on Raw a week after quote-unquote breaking her arm?
Well, you know what? It sounds fucking stupid, but fucking Drake Maverick he wants to work all these fucking shows after he's been fired. So why wouldn't they say, well, me and Sarah Logan will work these shows? Why, I mean, if Drake Maverick wants to be an asshole and work all these shows after he's been fired, why wouldn't they think, yeah, me and Sarah Logan come in too? Why not? Oh, good God.
I don't know.
I know you like that. I know you like Drake, but goddamn.
I think Drake is doing this because he thinks he might be able to save his job. Because there's a lot of people that like him. So
I'm sure he is. I'm sure that's what he thinks.
But
that raises expectations for people like Sarah Logan. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. That's what happens when you have people who are part of a workforce and they're not part of a union. They're trying to save their jobs, and they're raising expectations for everybody else. So, Drake Maverick trying to raise expectations for everybody else. So, I don't know.
So, speaking of unsafe work environments in WWE, Steve, we got a Nia Jax story here.
Oh, boy.
Nia Jax was on some kind of fucking video call thing with a bunch of the other chicks, and was talking about how Ronda Rousey was an unsafe worker, and that she went to WWE and complained about her injuring Alexa Bliss.
It's fair.
Because it wasn't professional.
It's a fair complaint, yeah.
And then on Monday, this fucking chick tries to kill Kairi Sane with a fucking tree slam into the fucking corner.
I knew that was coming too. I gotta tell you, when I saw that match booked, I was like, oh, poor Kairi Sane. She's gonna be out of this company pretty soon.
Now listen, I'm not saying that Ronda Rousey didn't rough up Alexa Bliss and hurt her. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's really fucking rich for Nia Jax of all fucking people. The chick that punched Becky Lynch in her fucking face and busted her nose up.
Well, she had it coming.
And then, tried to kill Kairi Sane on Raw. It's really rich for her to be the one complaining about unsafe workers.
Nia Jax can complain about whatever she wants because she is protected. We know that. That's a fact. You think that they're going to fire Nia Jax?
Well, no. I mean, dude, there's a fucking reason Tamina's still around and getting a title shot on pay-per-view.
I cannot. That's the thing. Like, why are they fucking pushing Tamina at this point when we have a Dark Side of the Ring episode on Jimmy Superfly Snuka about him killing his girlfriend? And nobody really counteracting that statement. And we're still pushing his daughter like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
I don't know.
Jim Cornette would say, what the fuck?
I will say one thing about Nia Jax, Steve.
What do you say?
I feel sorry for her in this regard, and it's something that people don't want to talk about, okay?
Yeah.
The fact is, she missed almost a year because she had to have both her ACLs reconstructed.
That's bad.
Okay?
That's rough.
And she comes back looking exactly the same because WWE wants her to be the big monster.
Right.
Now, this isn't a Nia Jax needs to lose weight rant. What this is I find WWE being really fucking irresponsible for somebody who missed almost a year, and they want her to still be that big.
Yeah.
Maybe she should have trimmed down. Because let's look at Tamina's fucking injury history of tearing up knees and shoulders, and Tamina is nowhere near as big as Nia.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But the fact is...
Nia's a bigger girl. Let's be honest.
But the fact is,
what it is.
Tamina got older, and then she started breaking down.
Tamina was old when she got signed.
Yeah, but I'm saying she got even older.
Signed, for God's sakes.
But the fact is how can you look at Tamina and look at Nia and then go, you know what? We should just tell her to keep this weight. We shouldn't tell her to drop some poundage and protect her knees.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, here's the thing, too. Yeah, they're not going to get rid of her, Steve. I'll tell you what, though. She blows out another knee. That chick ain't getting pushed ever again, and they're going to blame her for it.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
They're going to claim that we told her to get into shape. And I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you after she blew out 2 knees and had to go through all of that therapy, the last thing she wanted to do was stay that size.
No.
Because
Absolutely.
I'm sure she'd like to have her knees feeling better and not feel all the stress on that reconstruction. And I speak as somebody who was overweight when they had a complete knee reconstruction, and I actually had it happen twice. And I didn't lose the weight until after the second one. And I probably wouldn't have had to have the second one if I would have lost the weight the first time.
He was only underweight now because he has no legs, pretty much. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. The amputation played a part of me dropping to 205. But I'm also a healthier Larry, despite drinking a lot.
I am terrible. I'm sorry.
No, that's actually a good one. No, it is funny.
Yeah, I'm horrible. Yeah.
But Steve,
we're saying that Nia Jax would probably love to lose some weight if somebody would let her lose some weight. I like the fact that Nia speaks up for some people from time to time.
I have no problem with her defending her friend Alexa Bliss, Steve. I don't. I just think it's really...
Alexa. She defended Liv Morgan. I'm okay with that. That's fine.
I just think it's fucking rich that somebody who's considered dangerous is bitching about somebody else being it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
That would be like me telling people not to drink fucking whiskey sours all day long.
Yeah, and me telling people not to drink bourbon. You know, is what it is. It's all good. We all got our vices, you know.
So, Steve, the banner week here continues from last week for Vince McMahon.
Yeah, he's a great fucking couple
Former
weeks.
XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck is suing Vincent Kennedy McMahon, claiming wrongful termination. He filed the lawsuit last Thursday. The lawsuit is alleging that Luck is owed money that he was guaranteed when he signed to become the commissioner of the XFL Revival. Luck reportedly signed a contract for $20 to $25 million for 5 years, and sources all indicate that the contract stipulated he'd be due the remaining balance if terminated without cause.
Here's my take on this. You know what? Oliver Luck is the father Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck is a genius, and Oliver Luck should be as well. He should be fucking smart than to put his lot with Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He should be smarter than to say, oh yeah, Vince will pay me this money for this time. He should know better. He should be smarter than this. Goddamn. Am I right?
You would think so.
He is. I mean, Oliver Luck should have been smart in the thing that this man will pay him for this nonsense. And the people that once say to us that the XFL is this great football, they should have been smart enough to know that it wouldn't last. Why are all these people so fucking stupid? Is what I'm wondering.
So what you're saying?
Oliver Luck and all the experts are like, the XFL is a lot better football than we thought. Obviously lasts a long time. God damn, why are they all so stupid? Is what I'm wondering.
So what you're saying is you didn't believe in the XFL, Steve?
Not at all. Not for a second. I didn't watch a goddamn minute of it. And you know what? Did it go away after a few weeks? Yes, it did. Do I feel less of a man for not watching it? No, I don't. It, it's always going to happen, whether or not this. I think they'll want to blame the coronavirus or, whatever. But the ratings are going down every week. And the attendance going down every week. And people knew this shit wasn't going to last. It's fucking spring football, and spring football never fucking lasts. So, goddamn. Why? I don't understand. It was never going to last, is all I'm saying. Like, fuck it. Am I wrong?
No, I didn't say you're wrong. It's just I love that you hate the XFL so much.
I do. I can't, because people, this is great football. These fifth-string quarterbacks throwing balls to eighth-string wide receivers. This is fucking great entertainment. What the fuck? I'd rather watch any Chicago Bulls documentary other than that bullshit. I'm sorry. What are you trying to sell me on this shit? I'm sorry.
The XFL was great background noise for me as I rode on the weekend.
I'm sure it was. You like the XFL. You like Dan Patrick and Calvin Cowherd and all that stuff. I don't
listen to Cowherd. What the fuck are you talking about?
Joy Taylor's not bad.
So
that's all I'm saying about that.
But yeah, so obviously XFL didn't last. Big Ollie Luck wants his money.
Oliver Luck should get all his money, is all I'm saying. But I mean, Oliver, you know what though? Andrew Luck is supposed to be a genius. That's what we all heard. He's basically an architect. A fucking genius. His father, Oliver Luck, has been the athletic director of West Virginia for years. He's been this, commissioner guy. He should have known better to get in bed with Vince McMahon. Right?
You would think so, Steve. But...
He should have known better, but he didn't because he's an asshole. Come on now. That's all I'm saying. West Virginia. Yeah.
So, anyway, the hits keep on rolling for WWE because, as we all know, they were deemed an essential business by the state of Florida, which allows them to broadcast and put on events during the pandemic, even during the state of stay-at-home order. Now, here's the thing. They were... obviously classified as non-essential. They got classified. There's a lot of speculation on the payola there. And then this week, Spectrum Sports reporter John Alba reported that a WWE employee by the name of John submitted a public comment during the Orange County Board of County Commissioners meeting, stating that WWE employees are being forced to work during the pandemic. This statement, Steve, says from our friend John, my employer, World Wrestling Entertainment, aka WWE, is forcing me to work at TV tapings for its weekly shows despite stay-at-home orders for the coronavirus. I am unable to speak out as I need this job, and I know I will be fired if I approach my higher-ups. Despite sanitary precautions, we cannot maintain social distancing and have to touch the other people. I request the government to shut down these tapings and enforce so my colleagues and I may follow social distancing rules without fears of repercussion or losing our jobs, Steve.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I'm just going to say he's not wrong. This man is not wrong.
Here's the thing. Do you think this is a wrestler or like someone on the crew?
I'm going to say somebody in the crew. Somebody in the crew. As much as I want to say to Jeremy Lambert, it was in fact John Cena. It was probably not in fact John Cena. It's probably somebody on the crew. Blowing the whistle on Vince McMahon. You know how much we hate whistleblowers in this day and age, Larry Csonka. We can't have people blowing the whistle. We can't have people, calling people out on their mistreatment of workers in this day and age. But I'm sure that this fella was on the crew. And I have no doubt that this fellow is 100% accurate in the fact that, WWE will make these people work. There's no doubt in my mind on that. And people say, well, WWE won't make them work. They bullshit. They will. They'll make them work.
Yeah, and now obviously WWE did respond to this story with the quote.
Oh yeah,
these accusations aren't true. Yeah. Employees know they can confidently go to human resources, not the public.
Human resources. Oh boy.
Notwithstanding the appropriate protocol, no one would be fired if they were uncomfortable with their surroundings. We've made accommodations for individuals upon request. Yeah, you made accommodations because Roman Reigns said, "Fuck y'all, I'm going home with my pregnant wife."
Yeah, Roman Reigns is going home. He's not coming back. Let's be. That's a good question. Will he ever come back? I don't know if he will, and I don't know if he should. To be honest with you.
Listen,
I tell Roman Reigns get the hell away these people forever and ever. So
I said it when it happened. Good on the fucking big dog. Yeah. Number one, he has his own personal health issues. Number two, his wife is pregnant. He has no need to be around this bullshit, and I'm glad that he fucking stepped away and said, "Fuck it." Now, people were to go, well, he's Roman Reigns. He can. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he was going to. How many times? He
goddamn should. Yeah. Anybody who can step away should step away. Absolutely.
Good on him. But yeah, I mean, and this is, of course, brought up the big talk of should the wrestlers try to unionize.
They never will.
But here's the thing. Yeah. We all know if they tried, Seth Rollins would be the fucking Jesse Ventura and rat everybody out.
No, you mean the Hulk Hogan.
Oh, sorry, the Hulk Hogan rat, not
Hulk
Jesse
Hogan.
Ventura, yeah.
Jesse Ventura is trying to... Yeah, let's not demean Jesse Ventura's name here. Jesse Ventura, back in the day, is the guy trying to get everybody unionized, and Hulk Hogan was the guy who ratted everybody out. I was like, because Hulk Hogan was the Golden Geese. Seth Rollins is not the Golden Geese, but he thinks he is. So, there you go.
Yeah, Seth needs to learn to keep his mouth shut.
What a fucking asshole that guy is. Can we be honest? That guy. What is wrong with him? What's wrong with that guy?
He buys into his own hype.
God damn. He's terrible.
So,
terrible human being.
I think that's all the news, Steve, unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, not really. Not really. Not really. Not specifically. We'll have some stuff later on, sure, but it's all good. I'm cool.
I will ask, did you watch the NWA Power on Camille?
I saw part of that. I saw the video package at the end with Camille.
Yeah.
Actually talking, which is pretty good. I like that. Yeah. She's got a voice.
She had a nice little sub 3-minute squash match with somebody that was actually... Like, really, her opponent looked really good in terms of doing her job in that match. And I thought Camille came off well. I thought overall they did a nice job of it. Was an overall about 25-minute presentation hyping her history with Nick Aldis and Strictly Business, and then the match, and then that video package, which, got to give it to Dave Lagana and the NWA guys. They do some really good video packages.
They do. And Camille came out on this video package, and she spoke her piece. And everything she said, as far as I could tell, was 100% accurate. She was held back, because she was a athlete, and people don't like women athletes. As far as high school athletes and as far as college athletes go, we don't like them to be too good. It's tough situation. It is what it is. But, she came off really well, I thought.
Agree.
Seemed like a...
And Steve, I mean, honestly, would Camille lie to us?
No, she wouldn't. Absolutely not.
That's right. No, I thought...
She's never lied to us before.
That's right. I thought that was a good little piece of business. I enjoyed that. Again, a nice short presentation, making the best out of the footage that they had and stuff that they were trying to do. With the match that they had taped for, and then putting together that video package. So I enjoyed that. I also watched the first part of TNA Rebellion, or Impact Rebellion, sorry, on
Impact.
They got me all confused when they ran that fucking TNA special one week because they were trying to hype that show that unfortunately didn't happen.
Now you think of TNA all over again. That's right.
But the Impact Rebellion Part 1 special was a really, really solid, leaning towards good show. The only thing that held it back, I thought, was had the opener with fucking Tommy Dreamer and Rhino, which were the problem. And
they're always a problem.
Tagging with the returning Crazy Steve against OVE.
Boy. That's me.
And that was like okay because like fucking Rhino and Tommy Dreamer have to fucking win again, and OVE's a bunch of fucking jobbers now. And everything in the middle was good. The three-way tag match was good. Willie Mack and Ace Austin was a really good match with a title change to Willie Mack. Mm-hmm. And then I thought Kylie Ray and Kiara Hogan had a good match as well, one of the better matches on the show. And then the main event was an unsanctioned match with Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan. And after
how'd that go?
Well, after Sami Callihan had lost the title to Tessa Blanchard, he went away. He came back kind of doing a play on his old hacker gimmick, so it's like a reboot of Sami Callihan. He fireballed Ken Shamrock in the face. So they have this match, and it starts out, and it's like maybe 12 minutes long altogether. First 5 or 6 minutes is in the ring, brawling around, and then they go to the back. And then it turns to the cinematic presentation.
Oh boy.
So they fight in the back. OVE attacks Ken Shamrock. Sammy turns on his old friends. They go outside and brawl. And at the end of the day, after the big reboot of Sami Callihan, Ken Shamrock fucking makes him pass out with an ankle lock.
There you go.
And all I could think of is, why did you put all that time into trying to reboot Sammy?
Yeah, I saw some bullshit where they had this whole angle where they had Ken Shamrock, stooging to these guys with masks and whatnot. It looked like the stupidest bullshit I ever saw. It looked bad. So I'm not surprised that the match came off as bad as well. I'm not gonna lie.
It was technically okay, but like the booking was
technically okay.
But the booking was just perplexing to me.
Well, you gotta put your Ken Shamrock over.
Yeah, 2020, man, gotta have Rhino and Ken Shamrock going over.
Well, when the other option is Sami Callihan, what the hell can you do?
I don't know.
I know you probably like Sammy more than I do. That's all I can say about that.
I think Sammy is a fine professional wrestler, and I'll leave that at that.
There you go.
So, all right, so that'll wrap up that section, Steve. We got to talk about our weekly shows, starting with AEW Dynamite. We opened with a Cody video package with him in front of a bunch of big screens, kind of breaking down everybody in the TNT title tournament. I think Cody was missing the NCAA selection tournament, so he was.
Yeah, he was. So. Yeah.
But he talked about the participants looking at everybody's desire to win the title. He has a desire to win, but is he the quote-unquote 3-star general of the mid-card that broke the throne because he was afraid to sit in it?
Here's AJ Hawk talking about him, apparently.
No, that's actually a throwback to Kenny Omega when they started that Bullet Club feud. And Kenny was talking to shit. He's like, oh, look, it's the fucking 3-star savior, Cody.
Oh, so TJ took that off of Kenny Omega. Okay.
I guess.
Yeah. Probably.
But he was talking about that and was questioning if he was ready to answer the call of 32 years of history on the Turner Networks. Yeah. Complacency is a dirty word in wrestling, but an ally to the top guys that are just collecting checks. None of the participants in this tournament are that. There is will and desire here, but who has enough to win it? I thought it was a nice little video.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty fun.
I like that they keep putting over the tournament is important. There are stars in the tournament, and they've been focusing these shows on the tournament well.
It's a TNT championship, for God's sakes. It's a network title.
That's right.
It's got to be a big deal. And I feel bad for Cody's hair, to be honest with you. He's going back to that brown phase of his life. That's what I'm saying. It's not looking great.
Apparently, he forgot to dye it, man.
Apparently, he did. He's good. That's why Georgia has to open up to have their hairdressers open up so Cody can go in there and get his hair dyed.
I'm pretty
That's
sure.
all I can say.
I'm pretty sure Brandy could handle it for him if they bought a little store bought.
Well, she hasn't yet.
Well, maybe he's blonde again. We don't know. This was taped a while back.
Yeah, it's a fair point. We'll see how it goes.
So we had
Steve. It is a fair piece of business.
We had your best friend, Le Champion Chris Jericho, and Tony Schiavone on commentary once again.
Yes, the best commentary pairing in business right now. Let's be honest.
They are fantastic. We got a Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin video package hyping up our opening match for the night, which was the TNT Championship tournament quarterfinal match between Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. They started off hot and heavy with the action on the floor like they did back at the Revolution pay-per-view, so it was a nice throwback to that. Yeah. And these guys, obviously we keep talking about, in a few years, they are going to be some of the bigger stars for this company.
They better be.
They keep delivering. At the end of the day, Darby Allin, after ripping off Sammy Guevara's boot during the match and trying to break his fucking ankle, defeated Sammy Guevara at 11 minutes via pin. And Steve,
with the Last Supper.
Yeah, I thought this was a good match, a smart play off of their pay-per-view match, and it continues their rivalry very well because they have good chemistry. And this is one of those feuds that we're probably going to see for years to come, and I'm here for it, dude.
We're going to see these guys going at it for years to come. With Darby and with Sammy going at it for years to come. And I think Cody will be going at it with both these guys for years to come, to be honest with you, because it's just kind of one of those things where all these guys have really good chemistry, and Darby and Sammy have really good chemistry. And, fucking Sammy dived onto Darby to continue that. It was kind of that impact from the last match, as you said. And, oh, God, yeah, Sammy hit the, you had mentioned the splash that Sammy hit on Darby on the fucking ladder. Ugh.
Yeah,
that was terrible.
Sammy made a ladder bridge at ringside, laid Darby on it, and then hit him with a top rope splash, which he hit
that
Darby and then fucking just kind of bounced off of Darby.
That killed everybody.
I am the ladder.
Yeah, exactly. I am the ladder is what happened there. It was a bad piece of business for everybody involved. It was a bad time, but, watching these guys go at it, Sammy had a little bit more bedazzling going on more than usual. It's a pretty good piece of business. I liked it. And, Jericho going commentary, and, the right guy won because as much as I love Sammy Guevara, I think Darby Allin's the right guy to face Cody Rhodes right now because we all want to see that next match between Cody and Darby. I think we do.
Plus, they already took the time to tease us for it with that Darby and Cody post-match angle a couple weeks back.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes sense. I mean, honestly, I think we'll agree that either match would have been really good because
either one would be fine.
Sammy and Darby have worked with Cody in the past. They're great. Well together.
They're all great, yeah.
So, but Cody and Darby has a really nice history to it again with Darby, initially taking him to that draw and everything. And I'm looking forward to it. It's good stuff. Good piece of business. So we went off to the Hardy compound, Steve.
Yes, we did.
Where Broken Matthew was laying out his challenge to the whole of the ass, Chris Jericho, to come to the compound. But Chris Jericho did not respond to this challenge. And
why would he?
All the Broken One saw on Dynamite was an episode of the Bubbly Bunch where Sammy called him out, and Hardy was not happy with this false Spanish god. Invited Sammy to the compound to fight Jericho's for a battle for him, and he would delete him. And then he talked about how Jericho might not know how to handle his broken brilliance, so he kind of just turned into regular Matt Hardy and talked to him and.
Yeah.
Talked about why he sided with the Elite and his history with Jericho and how AEW is not here just for Chris Jericho. And then he could send Sammy if he wants because he'll kick his ass. And then he'll wait until he gets Jericho and he'll kick his ass as well. And Le Champion was not pleased after this whole video package.
No, he wasn't. He did not put it. Was not thrilled with this business at all. We saw the actual Matt Hardy in AEW, which was a shock to me because I thought we'd just see Broken Matt throughout, but we saw the actual Matt Hardy. So we'll see what happens from that.
I'm shocked that they're two different people.
Right?
They got me.
Seriously, I thought Matt Hardy was the vessel for Damascus or where the hell,
It's
we'll
hard to tell these days, Steve.
It's always hard to tell, but we'll see how it goes with Chris Jericho and Matt Hardy. This issue will be settled at some point, I'm sure.
That's right. So we got another one of the little Taz breakdown videos where he examined Kenny Omega's Snapdragon Suplex and V-Trigger, and I like these little videos.
Yes, that's good. And we got to see both those moves in the next match.
That's right. Kenneth Omega battled Alan Angels, who Chris Jericho...
Angles, or where the fuck he was.
Yeah, who Chris Jericho, again, had a fucking ball just destroying his name throughout the match.
He had some weird ring attire. Is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
he was
interesting.
He was shopping with Stu Grayson.
Probably so. But, the relationship between Jericho and Omega is interesting, I would say.
It is, because during this whole match, you have Chris Jericho, who calls him a pumpkin-headed idiot, and that...
A pumpkin-headed dipshit,
yes,
let's be honest.
And then admits that he doesn't like him at all, but at the same time respects him for how great he is after their clash at the Tokyo Dome.
One of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah. So, yeah, Jericho, again, really good here. Kenny Omega defeated poor Alan. They went about 6 minutes. A little enjoyable outing.
Alan got a lot of offense in,
Yeah. I think Kenny wanted to work out, man.
He did. Kenny wanted to work out. Jericho even mentioned on commentary, so this is kind of a warm-up match. It's like, sometimes guys want to go out there and get a workout, and Kenny got a workout, and then eventually Kenny was like, well, fuck this guy, Yeah.
The thing I liked was the finish, because Kenny Omega did not use the one-winged angel on this geek.
Why would he?
Exactly.
No reason to do that.
But that's the thing. I mean, that's the one thing that annoys me all the time. You don't always need a finisher to fucking finish the job, guy.
Yeah.
He hit a Dr. Bomb and a V-trigger, and that was it. So there you go.
It was a pretty bad V-trigger, too. He fucking kneed that guy in the head.
Well, that's what Alan Angles gets for fucking giving him too much of a fight.
Damn right. It's like Jake Roberts, Jake the Snake, you didn't have to hit the DDT every time. You can finish on with something else.
So
maybe a shortened clothesline or something. That's all right.
That's right. So we got, next up was a profile package on Scorpio Sky that I thought was really well done.
Yeah.
Breaking down his rough road into the sport of professional wrestling. It was something he always wanted to do. His mother, while she was alive, was always very supportive of him. Talks about the back injury that almost ended his wrestling career, but he pretty much assumes through the power of just staying positive and prayer and everything.
The power of positivity?
Yeah, I mean, everything kind of sorted itself out, and he got back into wrestling. He had a lot of chances, but was never signed. He kept trying, knowing that he may fail, and the video package ends at 2017 when SCU was formed, and they promised it to be continued.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I thought that was a good little piece of business. And again, these are things they should be doing on these shows to kind of fill some time and to talk about the people that aren't there.
Yeah.
So
like Scorpio Sky or SCU in general.
That's right.
Yes.
So we got a brief recap of being the Elite 200 in the Matt and Nick Jackson match. Did you catch that at all?
I did not catch. I have not watched that episode
If you got 25 minutes, go watch it. It's fucking enjoyable. I promise.
Is it now? I've heard the implication that this might be the finale of the Being Elite series. Did you get that impression? Or
I don't know. Some people have said that, but at the end, they were talking about the match in the car, and then they were looking like they were going to drive off with the emotional music, and then Nick was like, "Well, there's that one thing we still said we were going to do."
Well, there you go.
So I'm sure there's going to be something
I feel
else.
like he'll probably come back, I'm sure. I've not seen it as of yet. But was Tracy Brooks involved?
Unfortunately not. No, close second.
Well, see, that kind of diminishes my enjoyment,
I think you should watch it, though. You would enjoy it.
That's Tracy Brooks. A good person.
Trust me, it's funny.
All right.
So we had, again, one of your best friends, Orange Cassidy, with the best friends at ringside.
Yeah, Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. Happy birthday, Chucky T. I think we're past his birthday at this point in the evenings we're recording this, but his birthday at some point. And then we got Chucky T, we got Trent. They're heading out there. They're going against, Jimmy Havoc. This guy.
Well, tell us about this guy. What, you got a problem with him?
I don't. I personally don't. I think he's a good citizen. He's a good gentleman. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just a little bit worried about the diseases he might be carrying to the ring.
Okay.
You don't think there's a lot of diseases he might be carrying there? He seems like a dirty kind of guy. Am I wrong?
I saw his apartment on MLW when he was fighting with Mance Warner. Surprisingly clean place.
Really? Well, okay. Was he living with Kip and with Penelope at that point?
I don't know for sure because I'm not sure when they taped that, but like
Mm.
the place that they were fighting in looked surprisingly clean.
I'm just saying, doesn't he seem like a dirty kind of guy?
He seems pretty sketchy. I'll give you that.
Yeah, okay, that's why I was getting it. It seems kind of a little sketchy. Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying the guy's a complete waste. I like him with Kip and with Penelope. It's a good little faction there, and he got a lot of offense against Orange Cassidy. I don't know if Orange Cassidy weighs in for it against Jimmy Havoc, because Jimmy took a lot of the offense in this match, was carrying a piece of business, but at the end of the day, there's some distractions, there's some stuff going on, and Orange wound up getting the win after being beat up for a missed match.
That's right. Orange Cassidy picked up the win, a little over 9 minutes. Enjoyable match overall, but for me, the thing that hurts this is like I thought everything they did was like nothing was bad. I thought it worked, but the Orange Cassidy stuff just plays so much better with a real crowd.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. If you have a real crowd playing off of Orange actually doing stuff like, ah, holy shit,
Yeah.
holy shit. Yeah, but yeah, it didn't really play as well in this particular environment.
Yeah. Very solid stuff. I enjoyed it overall. And
but it's good to see Jimmy Havoc on Dynamite. I enjoyed that.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, and I do like the faction with Jimmy and with Penelope and with Kip Sabian. I think that's a good little deal there.
That's right. Jimmy Havoc laid out Orange Cassidy post-match, which will lead to something else later on.
And I also think Jimmy Havoc's a disgusting human being.
There you go.
I mean, am I wrong? I think most people seem to think that.
Well, I mean, that thought's out there. I'll give you that. I don't know James Havoc personally, Steve, so I can't.
He looks like the kind of guy who might be carrying a lot of diseases. Is all I'm saying. That's just what I hear through the grapevine, if you will.
That's right. So we got an MJF update.
Yeah, we did.
MJF has been dealing with something big he's been talking about on social media. It's been depressing, the fact that he hasn't been wrestling on TV for all of his fans.
Yeah.
And the reason he hasn't been here, Steve, is that during his last appearance, he suffered a severe injury while throwing cash during the gambling. It was a very bad hangnail, but he gambled through to the end of the show, but unfortunately, this became a life-threatening ailment. But he promises that he's going to rise from the ashes like a phoenix, and he will return to win the world title, Steve. And I think all we can say is thoughts and prayers with MJF through this time.
That's all I have to say, to be honest with you. I mean, I saw certain websites pushing these updates. Oh my God, MJF, he tweeted something about this bullshit. There's a fucking angle. Everybody knew that.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a worker. Don't know if you knew that.
And I saw every website pushing this, like, oh, MJF pushes. Oh my God, no, stop.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It's. I don't blame MJF for doing what he does. I blame people for buying into it because they're fucking stupid. Right.
So, speaking of a life-threatening situation, Lee Johnson had to face the Wardlow next.
That's a life-threatening situation right there, and Lee Johnson did not last very long.
The Wardlow killed this young man in just over 2 minutes, and it was not because Lee Johnson was putting up a good fight. It was because the Wardlow was just having fun throwing him around and getting his reps in.
Absolutely.
And then he finished him with the old F10 where he fucking helicoptered this motherfucker.
He killed him. It's fine. It's good stuff. I liked it. Good times.
Yeah. And again, that's all it needs to be is just him destroying people. It's like he had a match on Dark a couple weeks ago. It was like 20 seconds. He just fucking...
Yeah, that's all you need.
He took his coat off and fucking murdered this dude. It was awesome.
Yeah. He's Mr. Mayhem. That's all you need right there. Yeah. So, kill the guy.
We went to we went to a Dark Order video package where we saw a gentleman drinking in a room as he was getting bad news on the phone. He was getting a Dear John call, and he was watching some football on TV. We're led to believe he was a former football player, Steve.
Was he watching XFL? He's watching the Detroit Monterey Knights against the Houston Cougars, or whoever the fuck it was. Yeah.
I don't know. But he started searching online, and he found the Dark Order and sent them a message for help, which led to this gentleman meeting with the Exalted One, Brody Lee. And of course,
Mr. Brody Lee.
Mr. Brody Lee asks him how big you are, and he's like 6'2". He's like, how much do you weigh? He's like 240. He's like, did you play college football? And he's like, yeah.
There you go. All right, that sounds good.
That's the Jim Ross, Vince McMahon playbook right there.
Did you play college football? There you go.
So, Mr. Brody Lee said some people have success handed to them, but some of them are afraid of it. He's not afraid of success, and they offer the power of the Dark Order to this young man, and he gave him a mask and a home. And all I could think of when this was over, Steve, is it's really nice to see that the Exalted One is taking in former XFL players and giving them work.
God damn it. Somebody needs to. Somebody needs to. As much as you all told me the XFL is awesome, they should all have some work.
When did I ever tell you it was awesome?
Well, you and Jeremy and Sam Mercady all told me XFL.
I said I was watching it as I worked on the weekends. And
that's what you all told
noise.
me. Jeremy Lambert will back me up. He was all about the XFL. Trent Howell, the Voodoo Penguin, is all about the XFL because St. Louis had a team in the XFL for some reason, and they're all about it. All about the XFL. You can ask Voodoo Penguin; he will tell you. He was all about that spring football.
There you go. So speaking of the Exalted One, Mr. Brody Lee, he killed a young man named Justin Law next in 2 minutes.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It was beautiful. He just beat the shit out of this young man, and
as you should have.
Not only that, but during and after the match, they were teasing the upcoming clash with another young man that's unfortunately going to die, Marco Stunt.
What is Marco Stunt thinking? What's his problem?
He learned nothing from that ass beating Lance Archer gave him.
He obviously didn't. He obviously didn't because he'll go out here next week and get his ass kicked by Mr. Brody Lee. But Mr. Justin Law, I gotta tell you, if your name is Justin, you gotta have a better last name than Law, is all I'm saying. You gotta be Justin Credible, Justin Tolerable, Justin Asshole, something like that, right?
Well, all I know is Brody Lee fought the Law, and the Law did not win this time.
No, the Law did not win against Mr. Brody Lee, a good man, a gentleman scholar.
Backstage, the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy were interviewed with the Best Friends challenging Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian to a tag match down the line.
Who was interviewing them?
I don't know.
At that point, AEW has so many interviewers at this point, we can't keep track of them. I know it wasn't Jennifer Decker. I know it wasn't Alex Marvez. I know it wasn't Lexi Nair. I don't know who that was.
Maybe it was QT Marshall's wife.
Maybe it was. Could be.
I mean, they were at his school. Who the hell knows?
Could be. Yeah, exactly. Could be anybody. But I'd like to see more Miss Jen Decker's. All I'm saying about that.
There you go. So, Steve, to brighten everybody's day, the Bubbly Bunch returned.
Yes, they did.
But unfortunately, Sammy Guevara was a very sad panda.
He wasn't very happy.
He was downtrodden and upset, and Ortiz and his stuffed animals tried to give him a pep talk, and Hager tried to tell him he was too beautiful to be upset, and then Jericho said they need to dance and be happy, and he offered up hand sanitizer as a prize for them to do a Flim Flam video, which was a mock of TikTok, and they all danced, including Jake Hager doing a wacky dance, Sammy Guevara going insane with backflips and shit, which led to Le Champion getting a little pissed off and closing with, "Enjoy your hand sanitizer, Sammy." He was not pleased. All I gotta say is, Jericho, I hope he sent a little royalty to Shaw's and McKenzie here.
Okay, that's where I was going with it, because they're stealing Shaw's gimmick here. And I was pretty mad about that. Like, you're all stealing this girl's gimmick. That's what she does. It's like, what the hell? And this kind of lays the seeds for what's going to happen eventually down the line. There's a little bit of dissension between Jericho and Sammy, and we all know at the end of the day, what happens is that Sammy will take the reins, the inner circle, from Jericho. That's what's going to happen in the day, right?
I think so. I think
that's what can happen at some point, because Sammy will learn the lessons from Chris Jericho, and he will take his faction out from under him.
Although I'm going to say is Chris Jericho would completely disagree with you, because the inner circle are good lads. They don't drink on the job, and they've never hit each other with their finishers.
I'm sure he would say that. I'm just pointing out what's going to happen at the end of the day. I'm just pissed off for you're my good friend Shazza McKenzie. This is her whole gimmick doing the TikTok or the Flim Flam, where the hell she does. That's her whole gimmick. I'm a little mad these guys are taking from her. I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
So, got a video package to hype up Dustin Rhodes and Kip Sabian, which was our main event for this evening, Steve. With Dustin teasing that if he absolutely lost to that son of a bitch Kip Sabian, he would retire.
That's not a good move. I'm telling you right now. I pointed out in the column I did on chairshot.com, you know what? If he's going to retire if he loses Kip Sabian, if he wins against Kip Sabian, he's going to face Lance Archer, and Lance Archer will retire his ass, is all I'm saying. Lance Archer will make that man retire.
There you go. So Dustin Rhodes won the match, Steve. He did not retire, 14-20 via pin.
Yeah,
I thought they had a good match here. Kip is a dude who I keep feeling has a lot of unrealized potential, so I think getting to work with Dustin was really great for him.
Yeah.
And like you said, I do like the potential, the little group with him, Penelope, and Jimmy Havoc going forward. Kind of gives them all something to do, a little something different for all three. And I think we can agree Dustin moving on is the right call because he's going to face Lance Archer.
And Lance Archer will kill him.
Yes. But the other thing is, not only is Lance Archer going to kill him, Lance Archer is going to beat a name, and it also furthers the tease of Lance Archer and Cody in the finals, which is what we talked about when this whole tournament was set up.
Yeah. And even if Darby Allin actually beats Cody, it will tease the thing with Cody and Lance Archer after that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all kind of tied in, but right now. But fine match between these guys. I enjoyed it, and Dustin Rhodes. I don't want Dustin Rhodes to retire. I think he's doing some great work, but it looks like that's what he wants to do. And Kip didn't get it done. Lance Archer will get done. Lance Archer will beat his ass. And what's his whole tagline? Everybody dies. Yeah, Dustin Rhodes will die. That's what's gonna happen there.
So, announced for next week, Steve, Jon Moxley will speak.
Yeah.
Marco Stunt is going to die at the hands of Brody Lee.
Yeah, he's going to pass away.
We have our semifinal matches in the TNT tournament of Cody versus Darby Allin and Lance Archer versus Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And we also have a no disqualification tag team match between the Best Friends and Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc.
I like it. That'll be good.
So I think they did a lot of good job to set up next week's show, which we'll talk about later on. And that is going to take us over to our second show of the night, Steve. The old NXT show on the, what is it, the USA Network there?
The USA Network is what they're still on, as a matter of fact.
There you go. I should know that, obviously, by now.
You should know that, I would think. After 20 years.
So we discovered at the beginning of the show that Finn Balor had apparently been attacked backstage, and he was out of his planned main event with the Velveteen Dream.
Oh my God! What the hell? Can you
Shocking.
imagine?
What kind of rapscallion would do that, Steve?
Oh, who knows? Goddamn.
So the show started off in the ring with Velveteen Dream arriving. Adam Cole quickly interrupted. Basically said he kind of ran Velveteen Dream down, and Undisputed Era minus Kyle O'Reilly arrived. They attacked and beat shit out of him until Keith Lee made the save, setting up our new main event, because we have to have a Teddy Long special.
Tag team match, playa, holla, holla, holla. So what was the real deal? I mean, what happened there? Is there a reason that Finn Balor Velveteen Dream couldn't happen?
Well, maybe they realized that it was a stupid match to book because neither guy can lose. Balor's being heated up for Walter still. Dream's being heated up for the title shot that I think is still a bad idea.
When has that stopped them before?
Well, this is true, but I'm liking this. I'm hoping that they looked at it and Hunter was like, yeah, that's probably a bad idea. We should just.
I don't think that's. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know either, but I'm just saying. Thankfully, they didn't do it. So, Steve, we started off with your main event of the evening, I know.
Yes, sir.
Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox. And at the end of the day, Big Lady Cole and Lady Shawn Michaels ended up beating Shotzi and Tegan Nox at about 7:42.
Fucking sucked. I was bad. I was pissed off.
I'm sure you were. Gonzalez basically hit like a big choke bomb on Shotzi.
Fucking, spikes Shotzi's head in the mat. No, I was pissed off. I love Shotzi. She's fantastic.
I know.
How dare she lose to these jabronis? And I see interviews on the internet. Oh well, they want to try to compare Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez as Shawn Michaels and Diesel. Fuck off with that shit, right? Who would actually think that's a thing? Come on.
No, I mean, nobody's going to compare them specifically to those two, but that's the gimmick they're obviously going for.
Good God. That's ridiculous. That's some nonsense right there. Shotzi should run over these people without a breath. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, she didn't tonight. She got killed.
Well, yeah, and I saw Tegan Knox trying to headbutt Raquel Gonzalez, which is a bad idea. Like, she tried to headbutt the girl. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Hey, well, it worked for a little bit, and then Shotzi lost it for him.
It did not work. Yeah, Shotzi got killed thanks to freaking Tegan Knox. So. I think Tegan sold her up the river. I don't know.
There you go.
That's all I'm saying.
It was smart to book coming out of last week. For number one, they shot the angle last week. Number two, Knox and Kai are still feuding. And then thirdly of all, Shotzi and Raquel actually worked a series of matches in Evolve, so they're familiar with each other. So that all made sense, and overall, I thought it was a solid opening match.
Well, Shotzi Blackheart should have gone over, so I'm saying. That's all I'm saying about this little pizza. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Steve, I hate to tell you, she didn't because she's a loser.
You want to take this outside?
Yeah.
We'll take us outside. I'll tell you. We'll take us outside after we stop filming this podcast. Yeah. We'll take it outside.
I'll tell you what, Steve. I'll go outside, and I'll wait for you to try to drive your hunk of shit car here. Which means you're never getting here.
Yeah, that's right. That's fair. Why do you hate Shotzi?
I don't hate her. I'm just saying she was the loser in this match. Did she not get pinned?
Well, it is unfair. I think referee made a fast count. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. You should investigate it.
Bryce Remsburg was there making a fast count. That's what I saw.
So this led to, we got highlights of the sad Drake Maverick release video discussing his release.
What the fuck are we doing with this shit, by the way?
Because they were trying to create a sympathetic character, if you'll let me fucking carry on.
Well, I mean, he already got fired. Why are we trying to create a sympathetic character? Somebody got fired.
Okay, because here's the thing. If he wins the championship, they can't fire him. It's in the
contract.
He's
not going to win a championship.
We know that, but the story is he's trying to, Steve.
Story is they're fucking assholes.
Well, yeah, but anyway, he talked about how these matches could be the last of his WWE career, and he wants to give everything, and he wants to try to win the Cruiserweight Championship. That's not going to happen, probably.
That's cute. That's cute. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's cute as a button. I'm not going to lie. I understand where to try and get it. It's like, oh, well, maybe if he wins these matches, he can win some people over. That's fucking cute, but yeah, no.
You got to be so negative, Steve.
I'm sorry. Why am I so negative against a company that fires somebody and makes them wrestle 3 extra matches after? Why are we so negative about that? I don't know.
Well, I know what happened, and the comments section is going to let me know later. Obviously, your Tony Khan direct deposit came in today.
I wish it did. I would be all about it. All about that Tony Khan direct deposit. Unlike that Jacksonville Jaguars cornerback who went to call Tony Khan out on Twitter for no apparent reason.
Who the hell knows what's going on with that? But anyway,
who knows?
Next match, Jake Atlas in the tournament defeated Drake Maverick.
Oh, God, there's a shock.
Yeah. 6.5 minutes via pin. I thought they had a solid and focused little match here. Yeah. And I thought that the finish was cool. Jake Atlas does this little cartwheel DDT gimmick off the rope. So, a cool little finish.
Fine.
So, Jake...
Foregone conclusion, let's be honest.
Yeah. He tried to congratulate Drake Maverick after the match. Drake Maverick just walked off.
Oh.
So.
Why is Drake Maverick still working his matches?
Because I guess he wants to, and he wants to try to keep a job.
He doesn't have a job.
He's hoping to get hired back, Steve.
He's not going to.
You don't know that.
I don't know that, but I think that's I think that there's a better chance he's not going to get hired back than he is.
Well, I kind of highly doubt he gets hired back too. But I mean, hey, listen, he made a choice. He's going to do what he's going to do. I don't know.
That's the problem with these wrestlers. That's why they can't form a union, because these wrestlers are so foregone to the man.
Fucking scabs like Drake Maverick crossing the line.
goddamn right. You don't think he would be a scab to cross the line? He absolutely would. That's the issue. Because these guys are like, they're marks for the McMahons or whoever the fuck they're marks for. And they would just, keep doing what they're doing. And they're not going to stand up for themselves. That's what it is what it is.
Well, they won't.
That's why I'm not feeling this whole Drake Maverick. Oh, I'm gonna feel sorry for this guy, and I'm gonna hope he wins the matches because he's not gonna win his matches. I'm sorry, I can't feel bad for the guy if he's gonna play for the man. Here's what it is.
All right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm not.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't think a lot of people are going to actually get into it either, but. They try.
I know he's trying to because he's trying to be a scab. He's trying to be a scab and point out that he's a man for business. It's I don't get it. I kind of get it, but I don't get it because I am a man with testicles, so I wouldn't do it.
There you go. You wouldn't.
Did I just say that? I just said it. Yes, I did.
You wouldn't piss yourself on pay-per-view?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't, Larry Csonka. You and I went to Japan. We worked the tours. We hit clotheslines. We will not piss our pants at the demand Giant Baba or Masawa or anybody else.
That's right. If you don't piss your pants at the sight of Bruiser Brody, you're okay in America.
Yeah, if I tell you what, if I saw Bruiser Brody run at me at this point in 2020, I would piss my pants.
Well, especially because he's dead. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Freak you the fuck out.
Come to life, I would piss my pants, but otherwise, no, I would not.
Fair enough. So it looked like we were going to get the second part of the Keith Lee video package from last week, but Damian Priest took it over. Said he didn't care about Keith Lee's family or his journey. All he cares about is the North American Championship. Well, says Lee's been giving chances only to the people he knew he could beat. He handpicked guys like Cameron Grimes and Dominic Dijakovic because he knew he could beat them. He said the triple threat wasn't your fault. It was Regal's, but because you knew he couldn't beat him and all this shit. So Priest basically says, I hit you hard. You felt my power. I'm the one who puts the limits on you. You call yourself the moment maker, but I have a moment for you, my first main event, and now I'm thinking of a bigger moment when I beat you and become the new North American champion. My name will live in infamy and all that shit.
Okay.
So setting up a title program.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem with that. So that's all right.
We got good video package stuff. Tony Nese and Kushida setting up their Cruiserweight tournament match.
Yes.
Kushida ended up defeating Tony Nese at just over 11 minutes via submission. Thought they had a good match. I like Kushida a lot, obviously. Nese has been one of the more consistent 205 Live guys for the past year. He pretty much always has good matches. And again, good match with a good finish as Kushida did the Spanish Fly gimmick into the hoverboard lock for the win. So
it was good. Good match.
Like that.
Good stuff. Solid match from these guys. Yes, sir.
So then we had the odd couple of Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher backstage.
Oh, boy.
Where Matt Riddle talked about loving his tea time, but that he also misses Stallion Pete. Thatcher says that he likes to make people tap while Riddle likes to knock people out. Riddle says Tim's green eyes remind him of Pete, but Thatcher informed him that his eyes are actually brown. But they're going to show the world next week how beautiful Tim is. It was really odd.
As most promo segments of Matt Riddle are. And
but a lot of them are like kind of humorous and like fun, and this one was just weird.
I've never really been a fan myself, so it is what it is. Maybe Thatcher will kill a guy at some point. That'd be fine.
There you go. Got a Killer Cross video package.
Yeah, with him and with his unnamed woman.
Laughed my ass off on Raw when they were hyping NXT. They kept showing the end where Ciampa got attacked. And they're like, will we find out Wednesday who attacked him? And I'm like, they fucking showed Killer Cross and he said TikTok. Who the fuck else is it?
It wasn't Killer something Cross, right? It was what's his name now?
I think it's going to be like Karrion Cross or some shit.
It's not going to be Killer Karrion Cross. It's not going to be Triple K. Right?
Like when Jim Cornette tried to nickname Kenny King like Killer Kenny King in ROH.
Yeah, it won't be that, I hope. Not that Jim Cornette would ever do anything racist, you know. I mean, we wouldn't ever accuse him of that. No,
No,
absolutely not.
no. Of course
No,
not.
no, 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 absolutely not.
So then we went off to the home of the Garganos, where Johnny talked about his fairy tale ending coming true when he married Candice, and
There
then
you go.
another one coming true when he became the first ever Triple Crown winner in NXT.
Yeah.
Nobody believed he'd be the heart and soul of NXT or that he was better than Ciampa, but he is.
Yeah.
Candice joined him with her new look, said that she believed in Johnny. Johnny says that the real life fairy tale was believing that being nice was the road to success. It's like, whatever. It's like
He's not wrong.
His kindness was taken advantage of. Ciampa was a dirtbag and got everything handed to him. He's sick of waving the NXT flag on top of the mountain of appreciation, while Candice also said that she was underappreciated. She's the big sister of the locker room who's put all the other women ahead of herself, but she's no longer going to eat second, Steve.
That's right. Mommy's got to eat first. Is what you're saying?
That's right. So Johnny let her eat first. They said they can trust each other, and their plan is to reign together as the women's and men's NXT champions. The first married couple to do so. They, the good guys, will win and get what they deserve.
Sounds like a fine goal to me.
There you go.
I like it. Sounds fine to me. I mean, we take a look at the men's champion, Adam Cole, an asshole, obviously. Johnny Gargano beats him. We'd be a top babyface champion. And, you look at the top women's champion, Charlotte Flair, asshole, too. So if Cass beats her, you got two babyface champions. I like it.
Obviously.
I like it.
So speaking of asshole Charlotte, we got an Io Shirai video package talking about why she wants to face Charlotte, and she basically said that she's going to destroy the castle where the queen lives because she bows down to no one.
That sounds like a fine idea.
That's right. Hope Io kicks shit out of her.
It'd be nice. I don't like her chances, but
unfortunately not. She's the same thing as Asuka. Got to get her ass. Yeah, she has to put over Charlotte.
Yeah.
Lady Big
Dog.
Asuka,
Asuka. Poor Kairi Sane getting killed by Nia Jax. It is what it is. Yeah, whatever.
So Drake Maverick was interviewed backstage. He was all upset, but admitted that Jake Atlas was great.
Yeah. He lost a match. You've been surprised.
That's right. He said everyone is fighting their opponent, but he's fighting his opponent and also himself. And then said maybe people were right about him. So yeah, he's leaving.
They probably were. I don't hate Drake Maverick. I'm just saying. It's like
I get that you're not into it. I get it. Yeah, Drake's a good dude though.
I'm sure he's a funny guy.
At least he's trying to make something out of it.
Just stand up for yourself, man. That's all I'm saying.
So, next up, Mia Yim defeated Jessie Camilla in about 3 minutes. A fine little win for Mia ahead of her match with Charlotte, who Charlotte had to of course arrive after the match, and talked about how she wanted that match with Mia since her first NXT match on TV was with Mia. Mia said it would be an honor, and then Charlotte thanks her for helping make her a star 5 years ago. You were a good hand then and helped make me a star, and hopefully I can return the favor next week. And I don't know about you, Steve. There was a little bit of stank on that backhanded compliment right there.
Absolutely. But I was glad that this lady that had been training for NXT since 2017 finally got a chance to get in the ring on television, so we saw what she had to offer. I think that's good. I think that's a good thing to do. Get these people out there, see what they have to offer, whether worth keeping around or not. I like it.
There you go. So, there are some people in WWE when you ask to try to tell you that they think Charlotte's a babyface.
Who? Who says that?
Stupid people within WWE. They think Charlotte is like a babyface hero. It's like, she's a fucking cunt lately. All she does is cut everybody down. She wasn't even a likable
bad thing.
No, she's. I mean, here's the thing. Just admit it. She's a heel. It's not a big deal. She's actually really good at it, especially when she's kind of doing the backhanded compliment bullshit.
Goddamn right she is. That's the way she's especially. I mean, her father, Ric Flair, was always at his best when he was a heel. And he knew that as well. He always wanted to be a heel. He didn't want to be a babyface because he knew he was better as a heel. Smart.
That's right. So, We got Chelsea Green in a bikini photo shoot in a pool.
Yeah, I noticed. I saw that. I noticed that. Yes, sir.
So business picked up there until Robert Stone started talking. He put over Chelsea as a megastar, calls her the face of the division. No one in the division, even Rhea Ripley, has her combination of beauty, brains, and skills. So what I took from this is Chelsea Green is a total snack, and Robert Stone and Chelsea Green are probably going to die at the hands of Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, probably so. How do you think that Zack Ryder felt about all this?
Well, he probably helped her pick out the bikini, dude. So
I'm just saying. I don't know. Do you think Robert Stone's trying to sneak in on all that? What do you think? How do you think that's going?
Who knows, dude? I think Chelsea.
I'm just speculating.
That's horrible, Steve. Why would you say that?
I have nothing else to do here because what else can we say about this whole segment?
She looks like a total snack in her fucking bikini. She's gorgeous. That's what you can say.
Sure, I could say that.
There you go.
But that would be absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for? Tawdry! God damn it, we tawdry Larry Csonka.
Well, listen,
how dare we?
Here's the thing. What do you want me to do? I can't comment on her. It'd be one thing if I was oogling her during a wrestling match like other people like to do. But the fact is, she wasn't in a wrestling match. She was in a bikini photo shoot at the pool. What am I supposed to judge her on? Her hair looked good and she looked great in the bikini.
Yeah.
That was her purpose in the segment, why Robert Stone talked and I tried to ignore him.
Why was Robert Stone there? So I'm asking.
I don't know.
Why is that? Why is this a thing that's happening?
I have no clue, Steve.
Ask Triple H, your boy, Hunter. Right. Why is that going on?
So that led to another Cruiserweight Championship tournament match. El Hijo del Fantasma debuting, facing off with Gentleman Jack Gallagher. Steve, what do you think about Jack Gallagher's new array of tattoos?
Right there. Good Lord. Talk about a styles clash, these two guys. Like Gentleman Jack Gallagher, a British wrestler, some guy who knows all about technical wrestling aspects, a guy who, if you will, going against El Hijo del Fantasma, also known as King Cuerno, a Lucha Libre expert. Styles clashing all over the place right here. It was a thing that happened, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty solid for the most part, and the right man won at the end of the day.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it as a styles clash because the thing is, Jack Gallagher works really well with everybody. He always has good matches, and I wasn't even worried about that. So yeah, I thought they had a good match. Thrilled that Phantasma's finally on NXT TV. I enjoyed this. I thought it had a good bit of physicality to it, and like you said, the right man won, and just a good match. No complaints.
Yeah. And King Cuerno. I'm hoping that this guy shows up at some point wearing a loud shirt and a nice cowboy hat. It'd be pretty good. Yeah.
There you go. Or what with a big giant deer headdress.
That'd be good. Some good stuff right there. Yes, sir.
So, set officially for next week, Charlotte versus Mia Yim and Damian Priest challenging Keith Lee for the North American title. The Lucha Ninjas return, Steve.
What?
They tried to abduct El Hijo del Fantasma outside of Full Sail. Apparently there's no fucking there's no security during social distancing.
And it's kind of funny because we all thought, at least I don't know if we all thought this, but the rumor was that the El Hijo del Fantasma was behind the whole Lucha Ninjas abducting people.
That's right. So I'm going to proclaim his innocence now from all these horrible people and their fake news.
Yeah, absolutely. He had nothing to do with it. And it was obviously GTV.
Could be.
Could be the same folks that abducted the Team Dragon Gate from Wrestling Society X, maybe. One of those guys, Kevin Kleinrock, might hook us up on that. He might know what's going on there. I don't know.
Maybe it's that fucking hacker dude from SmackDown.
It might be, Mr.
He seems a little untrustworthy.
Absolutely. You mean Xavier Woods?
I don't know who it is, Steve. I'm just saying.
Xavier Woods has been very insistent that it's not him, which makes me think that's probably him.
Can't believe you would accuse Xavier Woods, a wholesome gentleman, of doing something
I
like
would,
that.
Absolutely I would. Why wouldn't I accuse him of such
Horrible
things?
person, Steve Cook.
He is. I agree.
No, you are.
No, he is.
Consequences Creed would not lie to us.
I think he would. Yeah, to be honest with you, that's all I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know. It's things being thrown out there. I don't know.
So then we got this main event, Steve.
Yes, we did.
It's supposed to be Velveteen Dream and Keith Lee versus Adam Cole and Roderick Strong.
How'd that go?
Well, the Undisputed Era attacked. They brawled. Damian Priest arrived and beat the shit out of Keith Lee with a nightstick, and he was unable to continue.
A nightstick?
Yeah.
Was he the big fucking boss man?
I guess. So they continued on. Velveteen Dream fought by himself for a while. And then, of all fucking people, Dexter Lumis arrived.
What?
Yes, the creepy dude that was watching the match the other week. Dexter Lumis arrives, hops up on the apron, and he wants the tag. So Velveteen Dream fights back. He tags in Dexter Lumis. The creepy little bastard runs wild for a while. He takes out the Undisputed Era guys on the floor, allowing Velveteen Dream to pin Adam Cole with the Purple Rainmaker elbow in a little under 10 minutes. And, okay. First of all...
Yeah, let's unpack this.
Let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
It was okay, but my biggest problem with it was it felt completely unfocused because they were serving way too many masters. They tried to advance Lee and Priest, Cole and Dream, and then they're apparently trying to make Dexter Lumis into a player out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, also, the other thing that really got to me was, I sincerely think, and I've talked about this before, Steve, and I don't think anybody's going to change my mind, continuing with the Velveteen Dream push towards the title right now is a mistake. His act completely lacks without any crowd interaction. His work has been horribly exposed in the empty arena setting.
Yep.
And it's just not clicking for me. I don't understand why you would take a dude that is so... whose gimmick is so built off of the crowd and push him to the title during a no-crowd era. It makes no sense to me. I think they're just continuing to expose him right now. And I guess Dexter Lumis, of all people, is going to get some kind of chance, but I'm way from sold on the guy because I've seen a ton of him, and
we've seen a lot of him. He's not good.
Does nothing for me, Steve. So what'd you think of this main event?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, and the whole Velveteen Dream thing, and you've seen a lot more of the Velveteen Dream than I have. You know, you've watched a lot more NXT than I have. You've watched that guy being built up to being a god, to being a player, if you will. And from what I've seen, from the things I've seen during this run, this guy is he's not ready for it. I'm sorry. I apologize to all you guys that think, oh, the Velveteen Dream's the next guy coming. The Velveteen Dream's the next Shawn Michaels or whatever the fuck you want to think he is. No, I just don't see it. I'm sorry. He's just not there yet. He might get there at some point, but he's not there right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. I keep hammering home. I'm criticizing him, sure, but he's still young. There is a lot of time. But the fact that some people think Velveteen Dream is flat out great right now is kind of wrong. He's not. He's had great matches, but the thing is, if you're really paying attention during this era, first of all, when he came back from the injury, he wasn't looking that great.
Yeah.
And now he's in these empty arena settings, and the thing about the empty arena setting is it is really showing you guys that are better workers than you might have thought, and it's also exposing the ones that aren't as good as you thought.
And I told you when they started this whole program with the Velveteen Dream in the Undisputed Era, with him and Roderick Strong, they're working the whole Rick Rude, Jake Roberts gimmick. And people here be like, oh, well, he's wearing tights that show Roderick Strong's wife. Oh, that'll give him his babyface. No, it didn't. No. Everybody who's watching that stuff thought he's a fucking asshole. Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I wrong?
I think you're right, yeah.
He look like a fucking asshole. Why would he root for this guy? He's wearing he's wearing these tights with this guy's wife on him. Why would he root for that? Nobody with the right mind would. I mean, maybe you assholes who, you like that kind of thing. Nobody actually did that. Is I just don't see how it worked for anybody. And from what I've seen so far, yeah, I mean, I just don't see this guy as a top-notch babyface, as maybe some people do. I mean, maybe some people see it. I don't see it. And, yeah, it's not working. As far as this match goes tonight, yeah, you try and mix Dexter Lumis into this mess, that guy? Good God. What are we doing?
Yeah,
what is it?
I felt
what are
like,
we doing?
I
what
felt
is
like
this?
NXT.
What are we doing?
I felt like. Shut up a minute.
Okay.
I felt like NXT was making an effort to make me want to turn off the show at the end, between having Velveteen Dream wrestle in an empty arena and then adding Dexter Lumis in. Listen, Roderick Strong is fucking amazing, but he ain't that good.
You don't have to tell me that Roderick Strong is a good wrestler. He's been pretty good for a couple of years now, yeah.
But yeah.
He can't save this shit. He can't save this shit where you're trying to book Velveteen Dream as a fucking babyface and this Dexter Lumis guy. Anytime Dexter Lumis comes on, I change the channel. I'm not gonna lie. I know you liked his feud with Ken Anderson and Christy Hemme. That's
Oh,
pretty good piece of
shit.
business.
You fucking lie to the people.
Yeah, that's a lie. Yeah, nobody liked that. Nobody in the world liked that. But that's what they did with Cell now. Anyway, yeah, Dexter Lumis, he's going to be a top-notch star.
Yeah, people keep telling me he's going to be a star, and I'm like, I don't know what you're watching.
Who says that?
I keep seeing it online and in comment sections, Steve.
Give me a name.
I don't know. They're fucking anonymous talking heads. I don't know who the fuck they are.
Did Jeremy Lambert tell you Dexter Lumis is going to be a star? Jeremy Lambert or Dustin James or Todd Bergman?
Fuck, I don't think Dustin watches this shit.
No, he doesn't.
So, but yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, listen, I'm like, it's cool if you like Dexter Lumis, but have a little perspective about it.
No, it's not. It's really not cool. It's really not cool.
No, I don't. No, it is, Steve. It's fine, because if people want to like somebody, that's fine, but I think you have to have a little perspective about it. It's like, I don't know why anybody is thinking he's going to be, like, great all of a sudden. He's a dude. He's doing the same shit he was doing in TNA still. Yeah.
But, it's funny because people thought TNA was awful. And they, like, we wouldn't watch anything that TNA does. But, once NXT does some TNA stuff, it's like, oh, yeah, we're on board. Yes, sir. Yeah, buddy.
So, well, Steve, that's going to break us down to the show-by-show comparison for the night. Would you like to go first?
I'll go ahead and go first. I thought that NXT had some stuff going on. I thought they had some solid cruiserweight matches, and I thought they had Dexter Lumis doing some stuff in main events. But at the end of the day, I think AEW carried stuff. I liked their opening match better. I thought they had some solid matches going throughout. And I feel bad for Dustin Rhodes because he can get killed next week. But at the end of the day, you got a lot of solid matches. You got Tony Schiavone, Chris Jericho talking, I got to give the edge to AEW Dynamite.
Fair enough. Yeah, I thought AEW is definitely better than last week's show because we didn't have the bad main event.
Yeah.
I thought the show was just really enjoyable overall. Tony and Chris Jericho are so much fun on commentary. I think overall they're doing a good job with the video packages. They're giving the right people wins overall. They're building weekly nicely. The tournament, I think, is going really well. So I thought Dynamite was a good show tonight. NXT, I thought it was an enjoyable show overall. I thought it was about on par with last week. The focus on the Cruiserweight tournament is appreciated. I think they're positioning a lot of people in the right spots with some good video packages like the Gargano and Candice LeRae one. And again, like last week, I think the show is doing a better job of being a simpler show with a more focused layout where they used to thrive. Overall, I liked AEW a smidge more than NXT this week. But yeah, I thought both shows, there's a lot of really good elements in both shows. A lot of really good video packages. I think the tournaments are helping both shows right now because it's for lack of a better word, as long as you book it smartly, it can be a smart time kill.
Yep.
But you're also getting a lot of things done with it, so I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm going to go AEW this week after NXT picked up a couple wins there with us, and we'll see what happens.
I think more NXT stuff kind of pisses me off, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
with the whole, oh, let's push Dexter Lumis as a top guy. Let's see how that guy. Yeah, that'll be pretty good. And also with the Drake Maverick stuff, it's like, oh well, yeah, we already talked about Drake Maverick earlier. You know how I feel about that. It's just, I know he wants to do it, but it's just, I don't know. Kind of pisses me off. He's a scab.
There you go.
I call it. He's a scab. That's the way he is. If they ever have a strike, he'll cross a picket line. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. So before we go, Steve, I want to let everybody know this weekend, probably be posted Sunday. This weekend's podcast will include a retro look with Kevin Pantoja back at Ultima Lucha 1.
Woo!
Going into some Lucha Underground fun there. And
nice.
the second half of that show will be the Dark Side of the Ring on Dino Bravo. So that will be Sunday's show.
That poor bastard.
And I do want to thank everybody that's been supportive of the extra retro stuff. Again, we've been trying just to give you guys something fun to listen to. Just kind of breaking into the bank of a lot of cool stuff that we've liked, or in the case of that uncensored show with Kevin that is just really bad but needs to be talked about. And but yeah, we're having a good time. You guys have been awesome and supportive. And Steve and I are going to wrap up for the night now. But if you hang on for a couple seconds, Jerome Cusson will join me, and we will be talking Dark Side of the Ring, Jimmy Snuka, and the death of Nancy Argentino. All right, welcome back to the final segment of the show. It is time to talk Dark Side of the Ring, which means Jerome Cusson is joining me once again. Jerome, how are you today, my friend?
I am doing all right, and I am very excited to talk about only the fourth worst thing to happen to Vince McMahon this week, which is pretty remarkable. He covered up a murder, Larry, and it's the fourth worst thing he's ever done this week.
Yeah, Vince is, we're recording here on the 16th, by the way, so everybody should know that Vince McMahon coming off of a banner week here, the XFL bankruptcy, alleged bribery in Florida to become an essential business, the mass releases of talents to cut costs and make the financials look good the following week. It's and then involved in this documentary, Third Hand, obviously, because obviously he's not going to comment, and of allegedly covering up a murder, and it's fucking banner week in the life of Vince McMahon, that is for sure.
Well, it's one of those things where I talked earlier this week about Vince McMahon essentially being the same person as Donald Trump. And if you look at almost everything he's done this week, I mean, it follows a lot of the same patterns. And the other thing that I said is that the first line of Vince McMahon's obituary is going to be continuing Over the Edge 1999 after Owen Hart died. And we're going to talk about that later on this year. In a few weeks, we're going to be discussing that incident, and that's going to bring up a whole bunch of shit as well in about 6 weeks or so. I don't know. This should probably be number 2 or 3. I mean, that XFL bankruptcy is pretty bad, but I mean, this is a really horrible situation, and I don't want to take away from the fact that Jimmy Snuka is also kind of a monster for what he did. But, I mean, Vince McMahon's role, even though he's not in this documentary, his presence and the overall presence of the World Wrestling Federation at the time just looms over this documentary, even though there was no direct participation.
It really, really does. So, again, this is Dark Side of the Ring. Jimmy Snuka and the death of Nancy Argentino, which was his girlfriend at the time. The show starts off, obviously, putting over Jimmy Snuka as a wrestler, transitions into the talk of him meeting Nancy Argentino, her death, and the quote-unquote alleged involvement of Jimmy Snuka, which he was never officially charged for at the time, but 30 years later, new evidence had surfaced, and that was kind of the set up for the beginning of everything here. So they start talking. We have the early 80s here. Snuka is signed by the WWF, along with many others during the time as Vince was purging the scene and taking all the stars. It talks about how he got over quickly, and we get comments from the Tonga Kid, real name Sam Fatu, talking about getting into wrestling through his uncles after a rough youth, and how Jimmy Snuka protected him in the business, Jerome.
Yeah, with a documentary like this and with that 45-minute format, it definitely restricts what you can say about Jimmy Snuka, because you are essentially kind of boiling down his career into kind of a 5-minute almost exhibition. You see a lot of the clips that you've seen in every WWE documentary that they've done in recent years. You see the leap from the cage and all that stuff, and you hear people putting him over as one of their top stars. And so you really don't get a real sense of who he is as a person, which was something that I was really thinking about as I was watching this, because I think the biggest complaint that I have about this documentary is there was a lot of talk about Jimmy Snuka's behavior directly towards Nancy, and the fact that this was kind of an illicit affair, and some of the things that he said and did, but we don't really hear about Jimmy Snuka as a person otherwise. And it felt strange to me, because the thing that I noticed about with the Chris Benoit documentary is that we got a lot of sense of who this person was, and I know that they certainly had a lot more time to do that. But even in some of the prior documentaries, when they have talked about different wrestlers, they've been able to talk about them more as people, and it really felt like this definitely needed a lot more time, because there were times when they were trying to talk about Jimmy Snuka, but they were also trying to talk about who Nancy Argentino was as a person, because something they say towards the end is that, they don't want to reduce her to just being a victim. And I totally understand that. I'm very sympathetic to that. And that's not something that I want to see either. But it really just felt like there was something missing from this entire presentation. And I think, especially when you go back to the beginning, the lack of just understanding kind of who Jimmy was as a person is definitely something that struck me.
I agree. And they got very lightly into a small smidge of looking into, I guess, what he was early is Don Morocco, kind of Snuka's greatest rival, joins us on this documentary. And he talks about how he felt Snuka could have been as big as Hogan if he could have kept it together. Talked about their relationship, how they were close, spent a lot of time in Hawaii together, and how Snuka was very nomadic and that wrestling was the thing that kind of actually gave him a sense of family. But then again, to your point, we don't get a lot of exposition on that from anybody else. It's like, it's a very quick 45 seconds, 1 minute clip with Morocco talking about this. So it's like, okay, Jimmy Snuka's a dude. He's kind of not attached to anybody. He's homeless a little bit, moves around a lot. Gets into wrestling, and then he becomes really famous as a big attraction. That leads to author Irv Munchnick joining us. Talks about his obsession overall with covering wrestling and with Snuka. How Snuka became such a big babyface during this time when he was a heel, and that they had to turn him babyface because of his popularity, and he was drawing a lot of money. They talk about how Jimmy Snuka partied a lot, and then we start getting into Nancy Argentino as her sister discusses Nancy dating Jimmy Snuka. Nancy was very popular, innocent, and led a sheltered life until she started attending wrestling with her friend who was dating Johnny Rodz at the time. That's how Argentino met Snuka. It got serious rather quickly. And her sister says that Snuka was very odd and isolated, and Nancy Argentino took care of him on the road because Buddy Rogers, who was his manager, basically wanted to fuck out. Because Jimmy Snuka, obviously, as we all know, had drug issues and was doing way too much cocaine. So Nancy essentially became his handler, and her family was very unsure of Jimmy Snuka early on, Jerome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really strange situation, because obviously Jimmy Snuka cannot talk for himself. He has since passed on. But we just, again, this documentary, the way it's presented, it's really hard to get a sense of who this person is. I mean, they talk about the partying, but Larry Csonka, I'm here to tell you, there was a lot of partying going on in professional wrestling in the 1980s.
What?
If you think Jimmy Snuka was the worst defender when it came to partying, then I've got some news for you. I mean, the Four Horsemen would, I mean, just go to any Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard shoot interview. I mean, their parties just sounded absolutely insane. So you talk about that party lifestyle, and admittedly, it's probably not good for anyone's health that they were doing all of that partying. It certainly has probably caused health issues and all that stuff. But not everybody did with Jimmy Snuka either. There's just something there. I don't know whether it is some sort of undocumented mental illness of some sort, because that's one of the impressions that I got from this, is that there was either some sort of mental illness, or that he had some sort of IQ deficiency of some sort, or that was perhaps exacerbated by the drugs that he was doing. And you don't know if there was steroid use. They never say that. But it's, again, WWF in the 1980s. That is certainly a grand possibility. So those are some of the things that were going through in my mind, is that there had to be something else, because it otherwise doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I guess just to back up your point, that's kind of where this one fails at, in terms of not getting deeper into Snuka, into his personality, learning more about him, who exactly he was, and then the time format overall in the show is a big part of that probably. But this, early on in this episode, I guess rushed may be the right phrase to use, but it felt rushed to me. It's like bing, bang, but it was like we're going from point to point to point. And it's not that they're covering the points poorly, but again, you made a comparison to the Benoit documentary, and they do a great job in that extended time frame of giving you those deep backgrounds on Nancy Benoit, and then giving you the deep background stuff on Chris Benoit, because I think, obviously, in the end of that one, Chris Benoit is a bastard that murdered his wife and son and then killed himself. But I also think that they were trying to do a job of portraying him for what he was until that happened. Because until that happened, he was beloved by fans, he was highly respected by all of his friends, and there's something to giving that fair play, and I think they did a good job. And I think one of the most important points you brought up when we covered that show, obviously available if you look back on the archives here, is the fact that they wanted to make sure that Nancy Benoit was not just a victim, that she was an important figure in his life, in wrestling, and as a person. Unfortunately, in this one, they kind of don't get to do that as much with Nancy Argentino, and they don't get into Snuka as much as I would have liked. He's kind of the wild, crazy man that makes a lot of money for Vince McMahon.
Well, and I think that one of the other things that I want to point out is that they talk to a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are featured in this documentary. You have Sam Fatu, as was mentioned. You have members of the Argentino family. You also have 3 different wrestling journalists, and I think they all had some direct impact on this story, but it also felt like there were at times too many people trying to get different points across, and I almost wish that they had limited the amount of journalists in particular to maybe 1 or 2, because again, in a 45-minute time period, it's really hard to get everyone's ideas across. The one person that I wanted to know more about was the local police officer, the police chief at the time, the Barney Fife of Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Thank you. Yes. This dude.
Now, I am too young even for the Andy Griffith Show, but just know that when I say Barney Fife, I mean an utterly incompetent police officer who I definitely want to talk more about. But
we will.
But that's what I wanted to say. That at times it felt like there was some redundancy, and I would have almost preferred if they had narrowed the scope just a little bit to having maybe 4 to 5 people talking instead of 7 to 8.
yeah. I'm sorry, I lost my page here. Okay. So, to kind of dig back into this here, Nancy's sister starts discussing about how she starts seeing cracks in the relationship. Talks about how Jimmy Snuka did not like her. She came home one time, Nancy and Jimmy were eating a meal, and she sat down to join them, and he didn't like her, apparently, like she said. He put his hands in the air like he was going to put them around her throat and apparently told her, "I could." Which, that sounds rather fucking menacing. Yes, I'm sure he's not a murderer. So she wanted Nancy to drop him, but Nancy defended Snuka. Snuka apologized by handing her cocaine, Jerome.
Which is a perfectly normal reaction to have. And the one thing I will say is that if you look at the pattern of abusive relationships, Nancy Argentino's behavior is not all that unusual.
No, not at all. So, what we learn going forward from this point is that Argentino goes on the road full-time with Snuka. Snuka was very protective of her. And, Morocco says that he didn't think Argentino liked him very much because he was feuding with Snuka, and he didn't think she understood. Nancy's sister reveals that while her sister was dating Jimmy Snuka, they found out he was still married and living with his wife. So since he was on the road so often, he was basically living two lives.
And I think one of the things the documentary does not do a good job of is they talk to one of his widows, and I don't believe that it's the same person that Jimmy Snuka was married to in 1983. Is that correct?
I don't think so. Yeah.
So yeah, it was just weird to have Jimmy Snuka's widow, and I understand that they're trying to kind of have another person who was pro Snuka, but she really didn't add a lot to the proceedings except to kind of contradict a lot of what they were saying. And even Don Morocco, yes, he had this really important feud and that moment in the cage, but he really didn't bring any other insight other than talking about the cage. And even that's something, again, that we've seen and heard a bajillion times at this point.
Yeah, I didn't think he offered much, but at least he wasn't an idiot like the police officer, because we're going to get to that soon.
Oh, what a man. What a mighty good man.
So, in 1983, the couple start having domestic issues as Nancy's sister recounts a early, like 2 a.m. call for help from Nancy, where Nancy claims Snuka was chasing her. Police ended up responding to this. Snuka is seen dragging Nancy Argentino around by her hair. And during this, as they're trying to subdue Snuka, he manhandles the police, fights off the dogs in what they detail is a superhuman effort. And then Nancy ends up playing it off as a misunderstanding. As you said, very much acting like a domestic abuse victim, because she helps him avoid jail time by claiming it was a misunderstanding and that he had never assaulted her, which leads to Snuka pleading guilty to a lower charge of harassment, donating $1,500 to, I believe, like the Ronald McDonald House, and the couple just goes back on the road as business as usual.
Yeah, just bizarre. And I'm sure the fact that it's the 80s, and I think we are so much more aware of these kinds of situations. Not to say that it wouldn't happen in 2020, but I think our level of awareness is just so much bigger for things like this that it would be really hard for someone to get away with this.
Yeah, God, you're right, and the sad thing is like, I just, you look back and it's like, he's allegedly, they said he's dragging her around by the hair, and then he beats the shit out of the cops and the police dogs, and they can only get him on a minor battery charge when they said in the police report the cops saw him dragging her around by the hair. And then he assaulted the police officers, and, like, that's all that happens. Like, I get it. He was, quote unquote, a star, and it was the 80s, but fuck's sake, man.
Well, I think that this and there have been a lot of documentaries that we've seen over the last few years, and one of the consistent messages that you get from a lot of true crime documentaries is you get this a lot from small town police, is that you get a general sense of incompetence. And that's not to say big city police are always the best either. But I think that what happens is that these small town police have small attitudes, and that certain people are able to get away with things because they're famous, because the WWF is always in Allentown and they are, quote unquote, a major contributor to Allentown's economy. Then the WWF is probably going to be able to get away with things that they otherwise would not be able to get away with. And I'm sure that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and this is something truly terrible that happened. But I'm sure guys got away with a lot of stuff back in this time. Drugs, other worse things that I don't even want to mention. So I none of this was a surprise to me. Because, again, this is something that you see all the time with small town police, and the way that they conduct their business and the way that they will treat people. And they will have certain biases, perhaps against certain people or certain individuals, perhaps even against certain races and creeds. So this is not something that I was altogether surprised by.
So that serves as a good segue as we start talking about that night in Allentown. As you said, Allentown was big for the WWF as a town they regularly taped in. Allentown obviously loved all the traffic and money coming through. So that night, Snuka Films TV comes back at 9 p.m. There's a disturbance outside, and an ambulance is called, and the police were called. Paramedics arrive, they find Nancy in the bed. Snuka initially claims that they wrestled around too hard and Nancy hit her head. And then he came back, and because he had left and came back, she was lethargic. And he left again and came back, and she was struggling to breathe, and then she was then taken to the hospital. And then it's, Snuka again, he claims she hit her head. Nancy's sister gets the call from the hospital. They're informed of Nancy's death. Snuka keeps claiming it's an accident, and the family is shocked. They have to inform all their friends. The police question Snuka, and this is where he starts giving conflicting reports. Because he initially says he thought they wrestled too hard and she hit her head. And now this goes to the story, which a lot of people may know of. They were driving in a car, Nancy had to go to the bathroom, so they pulled over, and after she was done going to the bathroom on the side of the road, she tripped and hit her head. That is what the story becomes. So Don Morocco calls Vince McMahon. The police obviously release Jimmy Snuka. Buddy Rogers and Jimmy Snuka go to Nancy's funeral. And this is not received well by the family. They think Jimmy Snuka is acting oddly. And the mortician mentions that there were bruises around her throat and multiple lacerations, and the fact that Jerome, he suspected foul play, and so did the family.
Wouldn't a coroner's report or something like that be included as evidence?
I mean, one would think so, unless a bunch of green paper fell on top of it that got rid of it.
I mean, we say that in jest, of course. But you're probably accurate in that assessment, because clearly something else happened. I mean, bruises don't just appear, and we know that Jimmy Snuka is not an accurate storyteller. The story changed many times, and we also again know that he has some mental issues. I can't classify what those are, whether it's related to drugs or whether it's related to some sort of illness, but clearly he is not a reliable narrator, and it's just awful for the family to have to go through something like this. I mean, this is the kind of thing that when a mother loses her daughter, this is something that will tear you apart inside. I mean, no parent should ever have to bury their child. I mean, I can't imagine what that has to be like, and especially somebody who was 23 years old at this time. And it really sucks for the family, because not only is she dead, but you also have her alleged murderer potentially not only being out there, but being on television every week. And when you get sort of into the mid-'80s and the WWF is really taking off, I mean, Jimmy Snuka is a prominent part of their programming for years to come. And I can't imagine what that's got to be like, especially because WWF really crossed over into the mainstream around this time. And I mean, I can't imagine what that has to have been like to have that going on, and to see this person just doing his wrestling thing like always, like nothing was wrong.
And that's exactly what happened, is that he went back to do his wrestling thing. He went back on the road. He continued feuding with Don Morocco. They made a shit ton of money. Had the famous cage dive, and Jimmy Snuka's widow talks about how people would be calling him a murderer at shows and shit like that, and he always defended himself to her. And the thing is, his career kept growing during this point, but the police were still investigating. And this is when the fucking former police chief Barnold fucking Fife Jr. III joins the show. This fucking guy.
I don't know what he was sitting down. I don't know what did he think he was sitting down for? Because it's clear he did not think he was signing up for this documentary, because he comes off like the dumbest person that has ever been in one of these. And there are times that certain people on these docuseries, so you take something like Tiger King, for example, which is on Netflix, and I'm convinced that a lot of the time these people are playing characters on a reality television show, that they are not, in fact, as stupid as this.
Oh, they're working, brother.
They are working. In this case, I am convinced that this person, this Barney Fife motherfucker, is legitimately stupid and has no idea what's going on. I don't think this is a character. I don't think this is an act. And the fact, like, his commentary in this documentary alone should allow the Argentino family to be able to sue him for negligence.
And for good cause, because this dude starts talking about the case, and he admits that they never looked for where Nancy Argentino allegedly suffered her roadside injury, because he didn't think it was relevant. What? The guy alleged of possibly killing his girlfriend says that she suffered a roadside injury. Wouldn't you want to try to go and verify that? I don't know. I've watched a lot of Law and Order over my days, Jerome. I don't know about you, but I'm just saying that seems like a police academy level bullshit. And yes, I'm talking about the lovely comedy movies. I think Mahoney would even be all over this bullshit.
I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. I mean, again, this is just the kind of thing that is probably shit that happens in small towns like this all over the place. That's the part that really scares and disturbs me, is that if you think that this is the only person that this happened to, or this is the only case, I would probably be willing to bet that this happens all the time, and probably still happens, because this is the reality of living in a small town. Everybody knows everybody, and nobody knows anything. I mean, that's the reality of this situation. And people leave small towns, and who really stays in these small towns? And admittedly, Allentown was probably doing better off in the 1980s than it is now, but it's really, really disturbing.
So we then discover from the family that Vince McMahon kept calling them to quote-unquote check on them, and his checking calls were reportedly him offering them upwards of $25,000 to make sure they were quote-unquote okay. That doesn't seem shady at all. They file a wrongful death lawsuit, and I'm using air quotes, winning $500,000 in default judgment because Snuka never showed up. Snuka never pays his lawyers, and the family ended up never collecting any money from this lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens. This is how people are able to get away with shit like this. Filing for bankruptcy is apparently just a way to get away from all of your debt, as Donald Trump and Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. have both proven to us many times.
And recently at that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about years ago. We're just talking about in the last week or so.
So basically at this point, the family decides to kind of give up and they want to move on. Because it's just, obviously, there's only so much you can deal with this. You can't try to deal with it every goddamn day. And they're broken down, they're tired, they're emotionally drained over all this. And at this point, Snuka's drug issues become too much finally. He starts to decline in the ring, his career starts going into a downward spiral, leaves the WWF, he goes to the AWA. And he's largely a non-factor outside of a couple cameo appearances for a very, very long time.
I like that Don Morocco said that he retired in 1988, and there is ample evidence to suggest that he was in ECW in the 1990s, as was Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, you think that they would have, I would have loved for them to put a little crawler. Even though Don Morocco claimed he retired, he wrestled for Extreme Championship Wrestling, and Don Morocco is full of shit, by the way.
Well, I, for one, Larry, am here to tell you that I am stunned that a wrestler would lie in an interview. I can't think of another time that this has ever happened.
Well, you know what they say about a wrestler: if his lips are moving, they're working, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bart Gunn is the only person. Bart Gunn has been the most trustworthy most trustworthy wrestler that I've heard from these first 4 episodes.
Yeah. So, in 2011, the case kind of starts coming to life again. And then in 2013, it's revisited as the local paper looks into it for the 30th anniversary of the murder. Or the death, sorry. They could not get the autopsy files. But as they were able to get the lawsuit papers, they were in there. They were unsealed, so they had access to the autopsy, which says that Nancy Argentina's injuries were deliberate head trauma, not from a fall, likely from abuse, and the coroner says it should have been investigated as a homicide, and also noted that there was no dirt found on her body or in the wounds from a roadside injury. Barney Fife Jr. the third fucking returns. And this dude just continues to come off badly. Well, I don't know why we would investigate it as a homicide. It didn't make any sense. And why would there be dirt? I mean, by the time she got to the hospital from the ambulance, I mean, I'm sure it would have been gone. You were a chief of fucking police and you know absolutely fuck all about forensics? Dirt just doesn't fucking disappear. I mean, how much worse can this guy come off?
I mean, it's utterly remarkable that this guy was allowed to be a chief of police. Did they say how long he was chief of police for?
I don't know, but it was obviously too long.
I mean, even one day is just too long. But, I mean, and the thing that I couldn't help but think about as I was listening to him pontificate, and what a pontification this was. But, like, what about other cases? Like, if there were other crimes that were happening, like, if other things were going on, like, what other cases did he screw up? What other lives did this man ruin?
It's insane to think about, and it's quite honestly scary because I wouldn't let this dude take my trash out. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. I don't know, but it's every time I watched it like in passing, like on Wednesday, and then I sat down Thursday morning to take all my notes. And this guy just got worse each time I heard him. So we're in 2013. They're revisiting this stuff locally in Allentown. And this is when Jimmy Snuka's book comes out. And in the book, he comments on Nancy's death. He does interviews about it. And we find out that during the initial investigation, there were no transcripts of his interviews with the police. Just notes that he spoke with them, which doesn't seem shady at all. They talk about how Vince McMahon protected Jimmy Snuka, how Snuka implicitly trusted Vince McMahon and would basically sign anything that Vince told him to sign, contracts and everything. And
that was really cringy, by the way. Just to know that he was doing that, not good.
And this is when the famed story of Vince McMahon, quote-unquote, allegedly arriving at the police station with a briefcase, and the investigation basically ends. And I'm not saying there is payola going on there, but make your own assumptions.
I think it was Bix that talked about the idea of the briefcase was full going in and empty coming out or something like that. But I mean, this is small town corruption at its best / worst. And should we really be surprised by Vince McMahon is going to do everything he can to protect himself and the WWE, WWF. That's all that he has ever been interested in. The wrestlers are merely pawns in his game, and the only reason that he was protecting Jimmy Snuka at this point is because he was one of his top stars and could make him a lot of money. I mean, you see how much Vince McMahon cared for him when he was doing drugs and he was no longer with the company. Did Vince McMahon ever pay for any of his rehab? I mean, I know that's something that he does now, but he's done that kicking and screaming because of all the lawsuits, and they're a publicly traded company now, and all the Chris Benoit criticism. I mean, that's why they do it now. But was he doing that in the 1980s? How was he helping Jimmy Snuka when Jimmy Snuka really needed the help? And again, regardless of whether, because it's pretty obvious that he directly had something to do with Nancy Argentino's death, and I don't want to take away from that. And yeah, he should absolutely have been put in jail for that. But given the context of everything and knowing that he was quote unquote not guilty or whatever, I think you have to come under the assumption that he had a lot of issues and Vince McMahon did not really care. That is who Vince McMahon has always been. Vince McMahon has shown you the type of person that he is over and over and over again, and there are people that are still in denial about this. And anybody who ever says that Vince McMahon is a good person, or from wrestlers to fans, all they're doing is telling themselves, or they're kidding themselves.
The worst part is Vince is still protecting Jimmy Snuka in a way because he keeps fucking Tamina employed.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into all that because, I mean, you certainly cannot blame the offspring for anything that the father may have done, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to see anybody get fired right now because of the pandemic, but it's bizarre.
Like, I don't want to say some people should be fired over other people, but when I look at the roster and I'm gonna cut a woman, my first choice is not to cut Sarah Logan. No offense to Tamina Snuka. I look at 40-plus-year-old Tamina Snuka, who looks like a soccer mom these days, who has had surgically reconstructed knees and shoulders and shit over the past, 8 years, who has never really been good. And I think, yeah, maybe we should cut her because, no offense, she is older, she's not that good, and Jesus Christ, she's one bad super kick away from tearing another knee out. But like you said, yeah, I mean, I don't blame her for what her father did, but Jesus, God, why am I still watching her in 2020? So,
I mean, if you really want to save money, you release Brock Lesnar, and that alleviates you of $10 million right there. That's what you do.
Well, that'd be lovely. So Chief Wiggum returns here and talks about how there were no transcripts of the conversations, and he didn't see why there needed to be, and doesn't even remember the Vince McMahon thing. Right. Sure is.
I think you're being too kind. Chief Wiggum, I think Chief Wiggum solved the person who shot Mr. Burns. So I think calling him Chief Wiggum is kind of an insult.
Well, okay, you may be right. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of fun insults, but So,
Yeah.
again, we have Snuka addressing the death in his book, and the thing that angered the family is in the book, Jimmy Snuka writes and talks about how he felt Nancy ruined his life, and he downplayed the relationship as she was just from a town-to-town girlfriend, and denied ever hurting her.
So here's the question that I had. Did Jimmy Snuka actually write that book, or did his ghostwriter write the book?
Well, I'm sure a ghostwriter wrote it, but I'm guessing Jimmy Snuka just sat there and blabbed on about shit, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the things that that I would speculate on is I'm not sure that he actually wrote it.
Oh, I wouldn't think he did. But anyway, again, throughout the book and the interviews he does for the book, he's constantly telling different stories while maintaining his innocence. And then we go back to old Sam Fatu, the Tonga Kid, who claims on the night of the death that he rode with the couple and that the ride was fun, they had a good time, they were chopping it up, they went to separate ways at their hotel, but he doesn't recall Snuka's story that they stopped at roadside and she went to the bathroom along the roadside and that's when the accident happened. He has no memory of this. He ends up walking away from the interviewer. And an interesting note that was brought up by Dave Meltzer is Tonga Kid wasn't even on that taping.
There seems to be some conflicting information about where he was. So it just seems a little bit, there seems to be a lot of back and forth on that.
Yeah, and so after he says all this, we have Barney Fife back talking about basically how he doesn't remember shit. That is the gist of every one of this fucker's things. They ask him a question, like a detailed question. On the night of Nancy Argentino's death, where Jimmy Snuka claimed that she had an accident at roadside, what? And then they like get into a question specifically, and he's like, well, we really didn't look into that because we didn't think there was just cause. And that briefcase was heavy.
I mean, why did he sit down and do this? Like, nobody's putting a gun to his head and saying, Barney Fife, you absolutely have to do this interview. Like, there's no court order. There's nothing saying that he had to do this, and yet he did. It is bananas.
It really is. And I can't think of anybody that has added less. Well, hang on. Let me correct myself. I can't think of anybody that has added less in terms of what they talked about to a story, but at the same time added more fuel to a fire of a story on one of these shows.
I mean, it would not, if the Argentino family filed a lawsuit against him tomorrow, I would not be surprised.
Well, I think we should look into this gentleman's Florida holdings and see what kind of fishing boat and condos he has down there.
I think he probably doesn't remember those either.
So the case is reopened in 2013 following the paper in Allentown revisiting and getting the case reopened. It is opened in front of a grand jury. Snuka is charged with third-degree murder at the age of 73 while he is suffering from stomach cancer. It becomes a really big story during this time. Snuka's health deteriorates during the trial. It is at this time that his attorney informs the judge that his client does not know what's going on, claims he's suffering from dementia, and it is ruled that Jimmy Snuka is now unfit to face trial and receive any kind of punishment.
Given that he died a week after this, I have to believe that was accurate. That you could say a lot of negative things, but it does not sound like Jimmy Snuka's lawyer was lying.
No, and I agree with you. And this transitions to Sam Fatu claiming that he's all sobby and crying for Jimmy and talking about how he was a good man that people unfairly demonized.
I mean, I think Sam Fatu, I think it comes off poorly, and I'm not going to defend him, but if it is perhaps representative of his experience dealing with Jimmy Snuka, that to him, Jimmy was great to him.
Yeah.
And that's why he can say that. But it's obvious that he was very abusive, perhaps towards women. If we were to talk to other women in his life, maybe that wouldn't be true.
So, basically, to kind of wrap this up, what we have here is there's no resolution and justice for Nancy and her family. They get no real closure about this. And at the end of the day, when all is said and done, Jimmy Snuka is looked at as an iconic performer for his time, but much like Chris Benoit, passes away or dies with a much maligned and tarnished legacy due to this whole situation with Nancy. And I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, from everything you can put together, from everything I've read, from this, from that, Jimmy Snuka killed her.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the evidence suggests. And perhaps it was an accident. Perhaps it was an act of rage, but that doesn't excuse it. And there was a lot of injustice done. And I think Jimmy Snuka is clearly the person that should be held responsible. But when I think about these situations, and this happens a lot with the Harvey Weinsteins and the R. Kellys of this world as well, is that yes, these are repulsive, morally reprehensible people, but you can't just look at those people as being the only part of the problem. There are people who have enabled this behavior. Vince McMahon, the police commissioner, other people in Allentown, they enabled this situation to happen to where the Argentinos are not ever probably going to get any justice. And that's the unfortunate part to me, is that there are people who, I don't want to say the word conspired, but that's really the only word that comes to mind, is that people have conspired to help him get away with this and help him just not really be able to deal with those consequences. And I think that's so important to emphasize, is that it's not just Jimmy Snuka who's the problem. It's also all of the people who enabled this to continue.
I agree. So that is going to kind of wrap us up on this. We'll do our closing thoughts here, Jerome. And we kind of talked about this before we started recording. I agree with you that this was my least favorite, and I think the lowest quality overall episode of the season. I think number one, I think it needed more time. As you mentioned early in the show, I wanted to know more about Jimmy Snuka. I wanted to get deeper into things. I think it suffered from a few things. I think that there was too much Don Muraco, because outside of being Snuka's rival, he really adds nothing to me in this.
No. I mean, I think when Tony Atlas was a part of the Bruiser Brody documentary, that made a ton of sense. And I think that Tony Atlas added a lot to that conversation. And I think it's really easy to look at him as kind of a buffoon and, oh, he has a foot fetish. But, like, he added a lot to those proceedings. Don Muraco really didn't, and I think that's a huge difference, is that just because somebody is a wrestler does not mean they have a lot to contribute. And I understand that they did want to have Sam Fatu in this, and I get why he was there, but man, he did not come across very well.
I agree. That's another one of my negatives for this episode. The police chief, this dude, again, he added so little, but at the same time adds so much fuel to the fire on the conspiracy theory, because it's very convenient to say, I don't remember anything. It's either he's stupid or he's covering something up.
I mean, it was funny, but in this darkly comedic way, because it was just like, if I were to put this person in a more widely seen documentary, like a Netflix documentary, I think this would take off as a meme. Like, he would be a meme within 48 hours of, like, when you don't remember something and they just put his picture up there. I mean, that is the level of stupidity. And there are times when you watch some docuseries and it feels like people are playing a character. This guy was not playing a character. This guy was an utter buffoon, and he deserves his nickname. We have not used his real name, and I'm not going to tell you it. He will forever be Barney Fife III.
That's right. So again, like I said, I think it needed more time. I would have largely downscaled the Don Morocco stuff. It would have been fine to have a couple comments from him for context for the Snuka feud stuff. I don't think they utilized Irv Munchnick enough in this because he wrote a lot about it. The other negative takeaways I have is we talked about last time, it would have been nice to see Bix interviewed for this because Bix did a ton of work from this. And I also think along with Bix, I think they really, again, he didn't have to be a major part of it, but I think you could have got some comments from Meltzer as well because he's covered this a lot over the years. I just think that you could have got deeper into it in a lot of ways. Again, we didn't need Don Morocco. We certainly didn't need a lot of Sam Fatu either. The show needed time, and it's again, it's I don't quite want to say it's bad, but it's I think the in terms of execution, it wasn't nearly on the level of the other episodes, in my opinion. I enjoyed. For various reasons. Like, it's hard to say I enjoyed the Benoit one, but I mean, for what it was and what it accomplished and everything, I greatly enjoyed that one for what they tried to do, for the legacy they tried to leave Nancy and the end of it. The New Jack one, again, your mileage is going to vary on New Jack. I did think it was very well done. They covered a lot of the issues that people had only heard about over the years. These alleged assaults, or what you want to call them, you know what I mean? These were like urban legends to a lot of people, and they actually had video of a lot of that. I thought the Brawl for All was really good, and as you mentioned, Bart Gunn comes across as just the most down-to-earth, okay with his lot in life dude after all this.
I would give this a gentleman's 3 out of 5 stars if we're going to go with star ratings. I mean, I think that's about where I come down on this because I don't think it was completely devoid of value. I'm glad that we got to hear from the Argentino family specifically because I think it is important to hear from them, regardless of even if the rest of the documentary kind of faltered in certain places. I think hearing from the family and hearing their story and hearing about Nancy, I think that's something that I think did deserve to be discussed in a public forum that was seen by 100 or 200, 300,000 people. So I think for that alone, I think this documentary is worth checking out, even though I think it is very disappointing in certain areas. I think this is a really important story, and it's one that I think is going to kind of get lost in the shuffle because, again, there's so much going on with Vince McMahon right now that this is only the 4th worst thing to happen to him in a given week. But I think when you put it all together and you put, the things that he's done this week with the Jimmy Snuka stuff and the fact that the season finale is about Owen Hart, I think there's going to be a lot of conversations about Vince McMahon. And those are conversations that I think need to happen in a very important manner, not in a we are evaluating this man's legacy because of the success he's had in the WWF, but from a moral standpoint, what is this man's legacy? And look at the things that he has done over the years, covering a murder, doing all of these tribute shows because of wrestlers dying, not taking any responsibility for any of it. You think about some of the interviews that he did with Real Sports and with Bob Costas and how poorly those interviews turned out, and his general behavior and the things that he's done just in the last few years. It is just awful.
It really is. So that is the Dark Side of the Ring, Jimmy Snuka and the Death of Nancy Argentino. My DVR cut off at the end. Did they say what is on tap for next week?
The Dino Bravo assassination.
Ah, yes. So we will get into the Dino Bravo one next, but Jerome, before I give the closing, where can everybody find your podcasting efforts outside of this?
You can go to entertherealworld.com and you can find my podcasts Real Bad, where Kevin Ford and I discuss the seasons of Breaking Bad. We are going to be recording our season 5 episode this weekend, and it's going to go up in a couple weeks, so you can listen to that. You can also go to @HeroPantheon on Twitter to follow the other podcast that I do where we discuss superhero movies. We are currently in the midst of discussing some 2019 movies, including Glass, Shazam, Hellboy, and Dark Phoenix. Next month, the month of May, will be our final month doing the podcast for this volume, as we will be reviewing the 2019 MCU movies. That includes Spider-Man Far From Home, Captain Marvel, as well as Avengers Endgame. And you can follow me on Twitter at JeromeC1985. My Twitter account for the next few Sundays is going to be dedicated to talking about The Last Dance, the ESPN documentary about the Chicago Bulls. So just be ready for that, Larry.
All right, fair enough. I appreciate the warning. So that will wrap us up for this episode of the show. I want to thank Jerome. I want to thank you guys for listening. It's greatly appreciated. Remember, you can follow the 411 on Wrestling Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, and any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choosing. Stay safe, everybody.